The USS Excalibur dropped out of warp near the Bajoran wormhole. Her mission routine: survey nearby spatial phenomena, check for Dominion activity, and return to Deep Space Nine for resupply. Captain Elizabeth Shelby stood on her bridge, young for a captain at 39, but she'd earned the position through competence, not connections. In signed status report, Shelby ordered, settling into her command chair. "Standard spatial readings, Captain," the ensign at Ops replied. "Bajoran wormhole is stable. No unusual activity." "Wait." She paused, recalibrating her instruments. "Captain, I'm detecting an energy signature, bearing 270 Mark 15. Distance 50,000 kilometers. It's another wormhole, not the Bajoran wormhole, something else." Shelby leaned forward. In her years serving under Captain Picard, she'd learned that something else near wormholes usually meant trouble. On screen. Maximum magnification. The view screen shifted to show empty space that wasn't quite empty anymore. Reality was bending, twisting, forming a vertical aperture that glowed with white gold light. Unlike the Bajoran wormhole's blue swirl, this phenomenon was stable, controlled, and radiating energy signatures that made the Excalibur's sensors scream warnings. "Analysis?" Shelby demanded. Her science officer, a Vulcan named Tavek, studied his console with typical Vulcan calm that didn't quite hide his fascination. "Captain, the energy output is enormous, orders of magnitude beyond the Bajoran wormhole. The aperture appears artificially sustained. And Captain, it's opening." The wormhole expanded, stabilizing at roughly 50 meters in diameter. Through it emerged a figure, humanoid, walking on what appeared to be solid light extending from the aperture. The figure wore robes of pure white that seemed to glow from within, and even at this distance, the Excalibur's sensors registered massive bioelectric readings. "Hail them," Shelby ordered. "No response to hails, Captain. They're ignoring us." The figure, the prior, though Shelby didn't know that term yet, raised a staff topped with a glowing crystal. Light erupted from it, not as a weapon, but as something else. A beam that struck the nearby colony world of Vega 9s, specifically targeting its barren moon. "Captain," the ops officer shouted, "the moon's atmosphere is changing. Nitrogen, oxygen appearing out of nowhere, temperature rising. This is impossible," but it wasn't. Over the next 30 seconds, the Excalibur's crew watched as the barren moon transformed. Clouds formed, water vapor condensed, plant life erupted across the surface, forests growing in fast forward, rivers carving through newly formed valleys. In half a minute, a dead rock became a paradise. "My God," someone whispered on the bridge. The prior, still ignoring the Excalibur, descended toward Vega 9's primary colony. Shelby made a split-second decision. Transporter room, lock onto that figure and beam them directly to the brig. "Unable to get a lock, Captain," the transporter chief replied. "Some kind of interference. It's like they're not completely in normal space." "Then we go in person." "Tafik, you have the bridge. I'm taking a security team to the surface." Vega 9 was a modest colony, 8,000 people, mostly agricultural, far enough from major shipping lanes that they lived quiet lives. Captain Shelby materialized in the colony's central plaza with 4 security officers' phasers set to stun to find chaos. Not violent chaos. Worse, reverent chaos. The prior stood at the plaza's center, and hundreds of colonists knelt before him. Not coerced, choosing to kneel. The prior's staff glowed, and as Shelby watched, a woman approached carrying a child. The child was dying. Shelby could see that even from a distance, the grey pallor, the labored breathing. The prior touched the child's forehead. Light flowed. The child gasped, color returning to her face, sitting up and laughing. The mother collapsed in tears, pressing her head to the prior's feet. "Hallowed are the Ori," the prior said, his voice carrying impossible resonance, as if 1,000 people spoke in perfect unison. "For they have shown you the light of truth. Origin has come to bring you salvation." Shelby stepped forward, phaser lowered, but ready. "I am Captain Elizabeth Shelby of the Federation Starship Excalibur. By what authority do you perform these acts on a Federation colony?" The prior turned to her. His eyes glowed with the same white-gold light as his staff. "Authority? I speak with the voice of the Ori, the one true gods of the universe. They have sent me to bring their word to the unenlightened. Those who accept Origin shall know eternal bliss. Those who reject it, the glow intensified, shall burn." "We are the United Federation of Planets," Shelby said, keeping her voice steady despite the wrongness radiating from this being. "We don't acknowledge gods, and we don't permit religious coercion on our worlds. You will cease these activities immediately and submit to questioning, or I will have no choice but to." The prior raised his hand. Shelby's phaser flew from her grip, hanging in midair before disintegrating into dust. Her security team's weapons did the same. No transporter beam, no tractor beam, just gone. "You speak of choice," the prior said, "but you understand nothing. The Ori do not offer choice. They offer truth. Embrace it willingly, or it will be forced upon you. There is no third path." He turned back to the colonists. "I have brought you the Book of Origin. Read it, learn it, accept it. The Ori are coming, and when they arrive, those who have not embraced the truth will face their judgment." A massive book materialized in the plaza's center, appearing from nothing, floating in mid-air before settling onto a pedestal that grew from the ground. The colonists surged forward, touching it with reverence, opening pages that seemed to glow with inner light. Shelby tapped her comb badge. "Excalibur 6 to beam up." Now, they materialized on the transporter pad, and Shelby immediately headed for the bridge. "Get me Starfleet Command, Priority 1, and find Captain Picard, because we have a problem." She looked at the view screen, where the prior was still visible on the planet below, surrounded by newly converted worshippers. "We have a god problem." 3 weeks later, the situation had escalated from problem to crisis to existential threat. Captain Jean-Luc Picard stood in Starfleet Command's emergency briefing room, or what remained of it, since Starfleet headquarters had been hastily relocated to a backup facility in Sydney after the San Francisco evacuation. Around the table sat admirals, captains, security directors, and representatives from Starfleet intelligence. 5 Federation worlds, Admiral Alina Nekiev said, her voice tight with frustration. "In 3 weeks, these priors have appeared on 5 worlds and converted millions. Vega Knight Dia Never, Archer 4, Tarsus 4th, and now Betazed, and we cannot stop them." A holographic display showed each world. On all 5 identical patterns, prior arrives through localized wormhole, performs miracles, distributes the Book of Origin, converts population. Starfleet security teams couldn't stop them. Weapons didn't work, force field didn't hold them, and any attempt at physical restraint resulted in the prior simply vanishing and reappearing elsewhere. "These powers," Picard said, studying the data, "they're not technological. I've encountered beings like Q who possess similar abilities, but this is different. These priors seem almost programmed, like they're extensions of something larger. We've analyzed everything," a science officer reported. "The terraforming of Vega 9's moon should have taken centuries with our best technology. They did it in 30 seconds. The healing, we've examined the previously sick individuals, complete cellular regeneration. No technology we understand could accomplish this." And the conversions? Picard asked quietly. Nekiev's expression darkened. Voluntary. That's the worst part. No mind control, no coercion beyond the demonstration of power. People see the miracles and believe. They want to worship the Ori. We can't deprogram them because they're not programmed. They've genuinely accepted this religion. Then we must approach this as a first contact situation, Picard argued. These Ori, however they are clearly advanced. Perhaps negotiation.
I'm sending you to find out, Nikiev interrupted. A prior has appeared on Deneva. You're the Federation's best diplomat, Jean-Luc. Talk to him. Learn what we're facing. Because right now, we're flying blind against an enemy we don't understand.
Deneva was Picard's birthplace, which made watching it fall to religious zealotry particularly painful. He beamed down with Data, Worf and Dr. Crusher to find the colony transformed. Origin symbols covered every building, white and gold iconography depicting stylized flames and upraised hands. Colonists wore white robes. Children sang hymns, praising the Ori. And in the central temple, formerly the colony's town hall, the prior waited. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, the prior said as Picard entered. The Ori have foreseen your arrival. You are a seeker of knowledge, a man who values reason and logic. These qualities make you worthy, if you accept the truth. I seek conversation, Picard replied, keeping his tone neutral. You've come to Federation space through unknown means, demonstrated abilities we cannot explain, and converted millions to worship beings called the Ori. I would understand your intentions. Intentions? The prior's eyes glowed. We intend to bring salvation. For countless millennia the Ori have watched lesser beings stumble in darkness, ignorant of the true path. No longer. Origin has come to enlighten you. Hallowed are the Ori, for they are gods, and only through worship of the gods can one achieve transcendence. We do not acknowledge gods, Picard said firmly. The Federation is built on principles of reason, science, and secular enlightenment. Whatever you are, whatever powers you possess, we will not bow to religious tyranny. The prior's expression shifted. Something that might have been pity. You speak from ignorance, Captain. The Ori are not tyrants. They are gods. They exist on a plane above mortal comprehension. They offer you the gift of their wisdom, and in exchange, you need only accept their truth and worship their glory. Is that such a terrible price? Yes, Picard said simply, because it demands we surrender our autonomy, our right to think freely, to choose our own path, to question authority, even divine authority. These are not negotiable. Then you have chosen damnation, the prior replied. The Ori are merciful to those who embrace Origin, but to those who reject it. The temperature in the room dropped. The prior's staff began to glow with increasing intensity. The Ori do not tolerate heresy. You have been given the truth. If you will not accept it willingly, you will be made to accept it by force. Is that a threat? Worf growled, his hand moving toward his phaser. It is a promise. The prior said. The armies of the Ori are coming, Captain Picard. Ships beyond your ability to comprehend. Warriors beyond your ability to resist. When they arrive, worlds will burn. Those who have accepted Origin will be saved. Those who have not. The prior raised his staff, and the view screen behind him activated, showing space above Deneva. 3 wormholes opened simultaneously. Through them emerged vessels that made Data's sensors go haywire, trying to process. Each ship was 3 kilometers long, shaped like elongated pyramids, hulls of pure white that seemed to radiate light from within. They moved without visible propulsion, gliding through space with impossible grace. The Ori have arrived, the prior said, and they have found your Federation wanting. 7 days, Captain. In 7 days, every Federation world must accept Origin, or the Crusade will reduce your civilization to ash. Choose wisely. Hallowed are the Ori. The prior vanished, not transported, simply ceasing to exist in one location and existing in another. Picard immediately tapped his comb badge. Enterprise, emergency beam out. 4-2. The temple exploded with light. Not destructive light, but blinding, searing brilliance that forced everyone to shield their eyes. When Picard's vision cleared, the prior was gone, the temple was empty, and through the windows he could see colonists prostrating themselves in the streets, chanting in unison, "Hallowed are the Ori! Hallowed are the Ori!" Back aboard the Enterprise, Picard stood in his ready room staring at the tactical display. 3 Ori warships remained in orbit above Denava, not attacking but present, a reminder that the threat was real. "Captain," Data's voice came through the comm, "we have detected unusual activity with the wormhole the Ori ships emerged from. It appears stable and, Captain, we are receiving a transmission. Text only. It reads, 'This is Stargate Command, United States Air Force, Planet Earth. We've detected your probe. Request immediate contact. We have information about the Ori.'" Picard straightened. "Stargate Command. I've never heard of such an organization. Data, verify the source. The transmission originates from the wormhole itself. Captain, specifically from the other side. The message includes coordinates and an invitation to send a diplomatic team through the wormhole for face-to-face communication." "It could be a trap," Worf said, having joined Picard in the ready room. "It could," Picard agreed. "But whoever they are, they know about the Ori, and right now we know almost nothing. Mr. Data, prepare an away team. We're going through that wormhole." Stepping through a wormhole was unlike transporter travel or warp transit. There was a moment of complete disorientation, not painful but profoundly wrong, as if reality had temporarily forgotten what up and down meant. Then Picard materialized in a concrete room lined with military personnel, all aiming weapons at him. "Hold fire," a voice commanded. A man in Air Force uniform stepped forward, colonel's insignia, grey hair, mid-40s, carrying himself with the casual competence of someone who'd seen too much and learned to laugh at it. "I'm Colonel Cameron Mitchell, United States Air Force, Stargate Command. Welcome to Earth." "Well, not your Earth. Our. This is going to take some explaining." Behind Mitchell stood 4 others. A blonde woman with major's insignia and scientist's bearing, a muscular, bald man with a golden tattoo on his forehead, a younger man with glasses and academic air, and a woman with dark hair and an expression that suggested she found this whole situation amusing. "I am Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. You mentioned you have information about the Ori." "Information?" The man with glasses stepped forward. "Captain, I'm Dr. Daniel Jackson. We've been fighting the Ori for 2 years. They've destroyed billions in our galaxy. And if they've found you, then you're about to face the worst threat your Federation has ever encountered." The woman, introduced as Vala Maldoran, leaned against a wall. "So you're from the future. Star Trek future. Does that mean you've got those nifty transporters? Because I've been asking for one of those for years." "Vala, focus," Mitchell said. Then to Picard, "Captain, the Ori aren't just advanced aliens, they're ascended beings. Energy-based entities that exist on a higher plane of reality. They're essentially gods, or as close to gods as anything we've encountered." "We've encountered godlike beings before," Picard said. For instance, the Organians, the Metrons, all claimed great power, but none were truly divine. The Ori are different," the blonde woman, Major Samantha Carter, explained. They don't just have power, they exist as pure consciousness on a level beyond normal space-time. They can manipulate matter and energy at will. They're virtually omniscient within their sphere of influence, and they draw power from worship. The more people believe in them, the more powerful they become. The large man, Tiluk, spoke in a deep, measured voice. I am Tiluk of Chulak. I spent 100 years serving false gods called the Goa'uld. The Ori are far worse. The Goa'uld pretended to be gods. The Ori are gods, and they use that divinity to enslave entire galaxies. They have destroyed countless civilizations. Yours will be next, unless you can find a way to fight them. Picard felt the weight of those words. How do we fight gods? Daniel stepped forward, pulling out a tablet. With ancient technology, the Ancients, another race of ascended beings, built weapons specifically designed to fight the Ori. They're the Ori's counterparts. They're opposites in philosophy. The Ancients believe in free will and non-interference. The Ori believe in forced conversion and absolute worship. The Ancients can't directly fight the Ori. There are rules governing ascended beings, but they left behind technology that can... Where do we find this technology? Data asked. That's the complicated part, Sam replied. Ancient technology is scattered across 2 galaxies. Some of it we've found, some of it is still lost. But Captain, there's something you need to understand. The Ori don't negotiate. They don't compromise. It's convert or die, and from what we've seen, they're already converting your people. Picard thought of Deneva, of the colonists chanting praises to the Ori. How do we free those who've been converted? You don't, Vala said quietly. Not easily. Origin isn't mind control, it's faith. True, genuine belief created by witnessing real miracles. Those people want to worship the Ori. Deprogramming them is nearly impossible, especially when the Ori keep providing proof of their power. Then what do we do? Picard demanded. Mitchell and his team exchanged glances. Finally, Daniel spoke. You do what we've been doing. You find allies. You gather ancient weapons. You prepare for war. And you pray, ironic as that is, that when the Ori bring their full crusade to your doorstep, you're strong enough to survive it. 2 days later, the Ori made their intentions clear. An Ori warship emerged from the wormhole and proceeded directly to Earth at faster-than-light speeds that Federation sensors could barely track. It arrived in orbit, ignoring all hails, broadcasting a single message on all frequencies. People of Earth, I am the Dosi, voice of the Ori. Your civilization stands at a crossroads. Accept the truth of origin. Embrace the Ori as your gods. Worship them as they deserve, and you shall be welcomed into the light. Refuse, and you shall be cast into the fire. You have 1 hour to decide. In Starfleet Command's emergency bunker, President Menzies sat with his council. The debate was fierce. We must evacuate Earth. One councillor shouted. Evacuate to where? Another countered. The Ori have wormhole technology. They can reach anywhere. Perhaps negotiation. They've stated their terms, Admiral Ross interrupted. Conversion or death. There's no middle ground. President Zifi looked at Picard, who'd been brought in as an advisor given his encounter with the Prior. Captain, your recommendation. Picard stood. We cannot surrender our fundamental principles. Freedom of thought, freedom of belief. These are not negotiable. The Ori demand we abandon everything the Federation stands for. I recommend we refuse their terms and prepare to defend ourselves. Against gods? Someone asked. Against tyrants who call themselves gods, Picard corrected. Whatever power they possess, they are not divine. They are bullies wielding superior technology and exploiting superstition. The Federation has faced extinction before. We've always chosen principle over survival. This is no different. President Zeif nodded slowly. Then we refuse. Admiral Ross, transmit our response. The response was simple. The United Federation of Planets does not recognize the authority of the Ori. We will not submit to religious tyranny. We stand free. The response from the Dosi was immediate. Then you have chosen extinction. Hallowed are the Ori. The Ori warship's hull glowed brilliant white, a beam of pure energy, not phaser fire, not plasma, something else entirely, lanced down from orbit. It struck Earth's hastily erected planetary shields, which had never been designed to repel attacks from space. The shields held for exactly 30 seconds before collapsing. The beam continued its descent, striking San Francisco. Picard watched from the bunker's view screen as Starfleet headquarters vaporized. The beam didn't explode buildings, it simply erased them. Matter converted to energy. 15 million people dead in the time it took to breathe. The beam swept across the city like a painter's brush, methodical, thorough, unstoppable. Then it ceased. San Francisco was gone. Just gone. A smoking crater where a city had stood. The Dosi's voice returned. This is the mercy of the Ori. We have demonstrated our power. You have 7 days. Every world in your federation must accept origin, or every world will burn as San Francisco has burned. There is no negotiation. There is no compromise. There is only the truth of the Ori, or there is death. Choose wisely. The Ori warship departed, vanishing through its wormhole. In the bunker, silence reigned. Then someone vomited. Someone else collapsed, sobbing. Admiral Ross stood frozen, staring at the screen where his headquarters, his people had existed moments ago. President Zeif's voice was hollow. How do we fight this? Picard had no answer. SG-1, standing nearby, looked equally grim. They'd seen this before. They knew what was coming. We can't fight them conventionally, Mitchell finally said. Not directly, but Captain Picard was right. We don't surrender. We find allies. We find ancient weapons. We find a way to hurt them. Because the alternative is extinction, and I don't know about you, but I'm not ready to go extinct. 7 days, Daniel added. In 7 days, they'll return with more ships. Hundreds, maybe thousands. When the Ori launch a crusade, they commit everything. This was just the warning shot. Data, who'd been analyzing sensor data from the attack, spoke up. The energy output of that weapon was 5.4 dies 1024 watts. Sustained for 90 seconds. That's more power than our entire fleet could generate if we drained every warp core simultaneously. And Captain, I detected 4 identical signatures within the Ori vessel's power core. Whatever is powering these ships, they have at least 4 of them per ship. Ancient technology, Sam said. The Ori stole it when they split from the ancients millions of years ago. 0-point modules, ZPMs. Each one can power a city for thousands of years. They've built their entire Crusade fleet on stolen ancient tech. Then we steal it back, Worf said simply. Picard looked at his security officer, then at SG-1, then at the devastation on screen. Yes, we do, and we find a way to kill gods. Because if gods can destroy San Francisco in 90 seconds, then gods are not invulnerable. They can bleed. And if they can bleed, they can die. Now you're thinking like SG-1, Mitchell said with a grim smile. Welcome to the war, Captain. Hope you brought body armor, because it's going to get ugly. The emergency summit took place aboard Deep Space Nine neutral territory, defensible and equipped with communication systems that could reach across the Federation in real time. The station's wardroom had been converted into a crisis center, its walls displaying tactical data that painted a grim picture. Captain Picard stood at the head of the table, flanked by SG-1. Across from him sat representatives from powers that had been enemies mere weeks ago. General Martok of the Klingon Empire, his scarred face carrying the weight of centuries of warrior tradition. Commander Tomalak of the Romulan Star Empire, his expression calculating and cold. And scattered around the table, Federation admirals and captains who'd never imagined they'd be asking their historical enemies for help. "Let me understand this correctly," Martok rumbled, his deep voice carrying skepticism. "You've gathered us here, Klingons, Romulans, Federation, to face beings you claim are gods. Gods who can vaporize cities with a thought. Gods who convert entire populations through displays of power, and you expect us to fight them." "We don't expect anything," Picard replied. "We're informing you that the Ori Crusade doesn't discriminate. They've already appeared in Federation space. Soon they'll reach Klingon territory, then Romulan. They convert or destroy everything they encounter. This isn't a Federation problem. It's a galactic extinction event." Tomalak leaned back, steepling his fingers. "And yet you survived their first strike. Earth still exists, despite losing San Francisco. That suggests the Ori are not omnipotent, which means this is a negotiation tactic. You want Romulan and Klingon resources to fight your war." "It's everyone's war," Daniel Jackson interjected, pulling up holographic data. "In our timeline, the Ori destroyed 70% of human-occupied worlds before we found a way to stop them. Billions dead. Entire civilizations erased. And that was with ancient technology helping us. Without it, you're looking at complete annihilation within months." Worf, standing behind Picard, spoke up. "The Klingons have a saying, destroying the gods was the greatest achievement of our ancestors. We killed our gods because they demanded worship without earning honor. These Ori are no different. They are tyrants who must be opposed." Martok's expression shifted. Not quite agreement, but respect. "Your words have merit, Worf, son of Mog, but words don't kill gods. What weapons do you propose we use against beings who exist beyond physical form?" Cameron Mitchell stood, activating another display. "Ancient technology." The ancients were a race of ascended beings, counterparts to the Ori. They built weapons specifically designed to fight other ascended beings. We've used those weapons before. They work, but they're scattered across the galaxy, and we need time and resources to find them. "What kind of weapons?" Admiral Ross asked. "Drones," Samantha Carter explained, calling up technical specifications. "Ancient automated missiles that phase through shields and track targets with near-perfect accuracy. We've seen them destroy Ori warships, not easily, but it's possible. The problem is that ancient drones are rare, and the facilities that manufacture them are hidden or destroyed." "There's something else," Daniel continued. "A legend among the ancients about a scientist named Merlin." "Yes, that Merlin, the actual historical figure from Earth's Arthurian legends. He was an ancient who opposed the Ori and worked on a weapon specifically designed to kill them permanently. Not just their ships, but the ascended Ori themselves." The room went silent. Killing gods was theoretical. This was a blueprint. "Where is this weapon?" Tomalak demanded. "We don't know," Daniel admitted. "Merlin died before completing it, but he left research behind, encrypted, hidden, scattered across multiple locations. The weapon is called the Sangreal, the Holy Grail, and if we can find Merlin's research and complete his work, we might have a chance." "Might," Martok repeated. "You're asking 3 empires to commit resources to a might. That is not encouraging." "The alternative is submission or death," Picard said flatly. "The Ori don't negotiate. I tried. They destroyed 15 million people as a demonstration of their displeasure. In 7 days, now 4 days, they return with a full Crusade fleet. When that happens, every world that hasn't converted to Origin will burn. So yes, we're asking you to commit resources to a might, because a small chance is better than certain extinction. Tomalak studied Picard for a long moment. You've always been an idealist, Picard. Even when we were enemies, I respected that about you. But this time, your idealism aligns with Romulan survival. We will contribute resources, but understand, if the Federation falls, the Romulan Star Empire will not hesitate to negotiate our own survival with the Ori. Principles be damned. Understood, Picard said, though the words tasted like ash. Martok slammed his fist on the table. The Klingon Empire does not bow to false gods. We will fight. And if we die with honor, not on our knees worshipping tyrants. Our ships, our warriors, our resources are at your disposal, Captain Picard. Today is a good day to forge an alliance. Around the table, other representatives began nodding. Not out of idealism, but out of cold pragmatism. The Ori threatened everyone. United, they might survive. Divided, they would certainly die. Then we have an alliance, Picard declared. Federation, Klingon, Romulan forces working together with Stargate Command to find Merlin's weapon. SG-1 will lead the search teams, since they have experience with ancient technology. Our fleets will defend critical worlds against Ori attacks, and we pray that we find the Sangral before the Ori find us. One more thing, Telik said, his deep voice carrying certainty. The Ori gain power from worship. Every person who converts to Origin makes them stronger. We must prevent conversions at all costs. Those who have already converted must be isolated, contained, prevented from spreading the faith. This is not a war fought with only weapons. It is also a war of belief. You're suggesting we imprison our own people for religious belief, Admiral Nikayev said, her voice tight. I am suggesting we prevent the enemy from growing more powerful, Teal corrected. The Ori use faith as fuel. Cut off that fuel, and we weaken them. It is pragmatic, if unpleasant. The room descended into heated debate. Ethics versus survival, principles versus pragmatism. But Picard wasn't listening anymore. He was staring at the tactical display, showing Federation worlds, calculating how many would burn before they found Merlin's weapon. Too many. Far too many. The Enterprise arrived at Camelot 3 days into the 4-day deadline the Ori had imposed. Camelot wasn't its official designation. The Federation's stellar cartography database listed it as Theta Cygni 7th, but the moment the away team beamed down, the nickname became obvious. A castle. An actual medieval castle made of stone, complete with towers and battlements and a courtyard, sitting in the middle of an alien planet's grassland, like someone had transplanted a piece of Earth's history across 600 light-years. This is impossible, Data observed, scanning the structure. The architectural style is consistent with 12th century European fortifications. But the planet has no indigenous humanoid population, and no records exist of human colonization in this sector. It's ancient, Daniel said, running his hands over the stone walls with reverence. The ancients seeded human populations across multiple galaxies. Some of those populations developed medieval-level civilizations before the ancients abandoned them. But this, he pointed to subtle markings carved into the stone symbols that glowed faintly when touched. This wasn't built by medieval humans. This was built by an ancient pretending to be medieval. This is Merlin's outpost. They entered the castle, descending through corridors that looked like stone but registered as advanced alloys on tricorders. At the heart of the structure, they found a chamber that belonged in no medieval castle. Crystalline walls, holographic displays, and at the center, a pedestal containing what looked like a sword in a stone. Excalibur, Vala breathed. The actual Excalibur, or You know, an ancient energy weapon disguised as a legendary sword. Tomato, tomato. Cameron Mitchell approached the sword cautiously. Anyone else thinking this is a trap? Undoubtedly, Data replied. However, the trap is likely an authentication system rather than a weapon. Ancient security measures typically test worthiness rather than simply eliminating intruders. As if responding to Data's words, the chamber activated. Holographic images erupted from the walls. A figure in medieval robes, elderly but carrying himself with unmistakable power. If you see this recording, the hologram said in a voice that resonated with both age and authority, then the Ori have returned to this galaxy. I am Moros, though in this form you would know me as Merlin. I dedicated my final mortal years to creating a weapon that could destroy the Ori permanently. Not their vessels, not their priors, but the ascended Ori themselves. I failed. Time ran short, and I was forced to ascend before completing my work. But I left behind the research, scattered and hidden, so that others might finish what I began. The hologram gestured, and 3 star charts appeared. The weapon is called the Sangral. It requires 3 components, each hidden in locations protected by trials, designed to test those who would wield such power. Only the worthy may claim them. Only the desperate would try. If you are watching this, you are both. Proceed with caution. The path to Tilling Gods is paved with the corpses of those who believed themselves capable. The hologram faded. The 3 star charts remained, displaying coordinates for worlds scattered across the galaxy. Well, Sam said, already analyzing the data. That's ominous but helpful. 3 components, 3 locations. How hard can it be? The first location was Tigrea, a planet with extensive crystalline caverns that registered massive ancient energy signatures. The away team consisted of Data, Sam Carter, Geordie LaForge, and Daniel Jackson. 4 scientists, 4 people who approached problems with logic rather than violence, which made the automated defenses particularly cruel. The caverns were beautiful. Crystalline formations that refracted light into rainbows, corridors of natural stone that had been subtly modified by ancient technology to create perfect geometric patterns. But beauty concealed lethality. Motion sensors, Geordie warned, his visor detecting energy patterns invisible to normal vision. Ancient design. They're tracking our movement. Can we disable them? Sam asked. Not without triggering defensive systems, Data replied. The sensors are integrated into the cavern structure itself. Disabling them would require dismantling the entire facility. Then we proceed carefully, Daniel decided. Ancient trials typically reward patience and intelligence over brute force. Watch for the floor beneath them shifted, not collapsing, reconfiguring. Crystalline panels moved with geometric precision, creating a maze that hadn't existed seconds before. And in the maze, light began to coalesce into shapes, humanoid figures made of coherent energy, each carrying weapons that looked solid despite being pure photons. Combat holograms, Sam identified. Ancient security measures, they're non-lethal but painful. Get hit enough times, and they'll render you unconscious. Recommendations? Daniel asked, backing away from 3 holograms that were advancing on his position. Run! Geordie shouted. They ran through the maze, dodging energy blasts that left scorch marks on stone, the crystalline walls reacting to their movement by creating new passages and sealing old ones. Data's android reflexes let him avoid most attacks, but the others took hits, stunning blasts that made muscles seize and vision blur. This is illogical, Data called out. The trial appears designed to be unwinnable through conventional means. There must be another solution. Over here, Daniel had found something, an alcove containing ancient text carved into crystal. It's a riddle. Those who seek knowledge must prove they understand. The path forward lies not in motion but in stillness. To claim wisdom, one must first surrender the illusion of control. That's very philosophical, Sam panted, dodging another blast, but not particularly helpful right now. Data process the riddle at computer speed. Surrender control. Stop moving. The trial tests whether we trust ancient systems rather than our own survival instincts. The maze will guide us if we let it. You want us to just stand still while energy weapons shoot at us? Geordie demanded. Yes, Data replied, and did exactly that. Stopped moving, stood perfectly still as 3 combat holograms converged on him. The holograms halted 1 meter away. The maze shifted. A passage opened directly beneath Data's feet, lowering him gently into a chamber below where the first component waited. A crystalline device, the size of a human head, pulsing with ancient energy. Sam, Daniel, and Geordie looked at each other, made the same leap of faith, and stopped running. The holograms ceased their attacks. The maze delivered them to Data's location. Ancient trials, Daniel gasped, retrieving the component, are really annoying, but effective, Data observed. This trial ensured that only those capable of trusting illogical solutions could claim the prize. A purely logical mind would never stop running. A purely emotional mind would panic. Only balanced judgment could succeed. 1 component down, Sam said. 2 to go, and we have less than 2 days before the Ori deadline. The second location was Athos, an ice world where temperatures reach 150 Celsius and storms could flay skin from bone. The away team was different this time. Worf, Teal'c, Cameron Mitchell and Vala warriors instead of scientists, because the intelligence suggested this trial tested combat prowess rather than intellectual capability. They found the ancient outpost buried beneath a glacier, accessible only through ice caverns that threatened to collapse with each footstep. Inside, warmth returned. The ancients had created a stable environment, proof against the hostile planet outside, but stability was relative. The moment they entered the central chamber, holographic opponents materialized, not energy constructs this time, solid light projections that hit with real force. Combat trial, Worf identified, pulling his bat'leth. We fight to prove our worthiness. The holographic opponents were perfect replicas of ancient warriors, each standing 7 feet tall, moving with inhuman speed, wielding energy weapons that could stun or kill depending on settings. There were 8 of them against 4. Okay, Mitchell said, checking his P90. This seems unfair. It is meant to be, Teal'c replied, his staff weapon already firing. Ancient trials do not test whether we can win easy battles. They test whether we can win impossible ones. The fight was brutal. Worf's bat'leth clashed against energy blades, Klingon strength against ancient technology. Teal'c's staff weapon provided covering fire, precise shots that disabled rather than destroyed. Mitchell used guerrilla tactics, constant movement, flanking attacks, exploiting the hologram's predictable attack patterns. And Vala used cunning feinting, distracting, leading opponents into each other's firing lines. They were losing. The holograms adapted to tactics too quickly, anticipated strategies, moved as a coordinated unit that picked apart individual fighters. Worf took a stunning blow that left him semi-conscious. Mitchell's rifle overheated. Teal'c was surrounded. We can't win by fighting separately. Vala shouted, we need to work together. Actually together. Not just 4 people happening to be in the same room. Understanding clicked. This wasn't a test of individual combat prowess, it was a test of teamwork. Unity. coordination between different fighting styles, different cultures, different approaches to warfare. Worf and Teal'c formed a defensive line, their combat experience creating a wall no hologram could easily breach. Mitchell provided suppressing fire from behind that wall, forcing holograms into predictable patterns, and Valor used acrobatics learned from years as a thief to flank, disrupt, create chaos that broke the hologram's coordination. Together, they were greater than the sum of their parts. Together, they won. The holograms deactivated. The second component appeared identical to the first, crystalline and pulsing. Ancient trials, Valor panted, collapsing against a wall, are really annoying. But they prove something important, Worf said, helping Teal'c to his feet. The Sangreal cannot be claimed by individuals. It requires cooperation, trust, unity. The ancients designed it to be wielded only by those who understand that no one person, no one species can defeat the Ori alone. 2 components, Mitchell confirmed. 1 more to go. And about 36 hours before the Ori show up with their Crusade fleet. While the away team searched for Merlin's weapon, the Ori Crusade intensified across Federation space. 50 worlds. In 2 weeks, 50 Federation worlds had converted to Origin. Not through violence, through miracles. Priors appeared, performed impossible feats, and populations voluntarily embraced the Ori as gods. Starfleet couldn't stop it, couldn't prevent it, couldn't even slow it down. B'Etzed was the worst. The Betazoid people, telepathic, empathic, deeply connected to emotional truth, should have been resistant to religious manipulation. But the Ori didn't manipulate, they provided proof. Real, tangible, impossible to deny proof of divine power, and Betazoids, who felt the sincerity of that power, who sensed no deception in the prior's belief, converted en masse. Lwaxana Trawl was among them. Deanna materialized on B'Etzed using emergency transport, found her mother in the capital's central plaza, kneeling before a prior with thousands of other B'Etzeds, chanting in unison, "Hallowed are the Ori, hallowed are the Ori." "Mother," Deanna pushed through the crowd, grabbed Lwaxana's shoulders. "What are you doing? This isn't you. You've never been religious." Lwaxana looked up, her eyes carrying serenity Deanna had never seen before. "Daughter, you don't understand. I've felt their power. Through my empathic abilities, I've touched the consciousness of the Ori. They are real. They are divine. They offer eternal peace to those who accept them. They offer slavery," Deanna countered. "Mother, you're being manipulated. Whatever you felt was truth." Lwaxana interrupted. "I've spent my life reading emotions, detecting lies, sensing deception. The Ori are not lying. They are gods, and they deserve our worship. Join us, Deanna. Feel what I feel. Know what I know. The Ori love us. They want to save us from our ignorance." Deanna reached out with her own empathic abilities, trying to sense manipulation, coercion, anything that would explain her mother's transformation. But there was nothing. Just genuine faith. Deep, sincere belief that the Ori were divine, and worship was the only rational response. "This isn't conversion," Deanna whispered, horrified. "This is genuine belief. You actually think they're gods." "Because they are," Lwaxana replied gently. "And soon you'll understand. Soon everyone will understand. The Ori are coming to bring enlightenment to the entire galaxy. Those who resist are only hurting themselves." Deanna wanted to argue, wanted to shake her mother out of this delusion, but she couldn't, because it wasn't a delusion. The Ori had performed real miracles. They did possess godlike power. From a certain perspective, worshipping them made perfect logical sense. And that terrified Deanna more than any Borg cube or Dominion fleet ever had. The conversions had consequences beyond lost worlds. Converted populations didn't just worship, they actively supported the Ori Crusade. built ships, forged weapons, trained as soldiers in the Oric's armies. 3 weeks after the first prior appeared, the Battle of Vulcan demonstrated exactly how dangerous converted citizens could become. An Ori warship arrived at Vulcan, accompanied by 30 smaller vessels, not Ori construction, but Federation and Narian ships that had been seized, modified, and crewed by Origin believers. Former Starfleet officers who now served the Ori with the same dedication they'd once given the Federation. The Enterprise led the defense alongside 12 other starships, but Picard faced an impossible tactical situation. The converted fleet crews were Federation citizens, innocent people who'd been transformed by genuine religious conversion, not mind control. They were victims, not enemies. But they were attacking Vulcan, and they weren't pulling punches. USS Proxima is targeting Vulcan's orbital shipyards. Worf reported from Tactical. They're manned by 8,000 workers. If those yards are destroyed, return fire, Picard ordered, the words tasting like poison. Target their weapons systems only. Disable, don't destroy. Captain, they're not showing the same restraint, Riker pointed out. They're trying to kill us. Then we die if necessary, Picard said coldly. But we do not slaughter our own people. Targeted fire only, Mr. Worf. The Enterprise's phasers lanced out, surgical strikes that disabled the Proxima's weapons, but left the ship intact. The converted crew responded by ramming full impulse, collision course, suicide attack, evasive maneuvers. Picard shouted, and the Enterprise barely avoided the impact. The Proxima struck Vulcan's orbital station instead, her warp core breaching, vaporizing the station and 3,000 Vulcan workers in a fireball visible from the planet's surface. Picard watched it happen. Watched his attempt at restraint lead directly to mass casualties. Watched converted Starfleet officers commit murder in the name of the Ori. Captain, Data said quietly, their tactics are becoming more aggressive. They are using suicide attacks because they know we will hesitate to destroy them. Our ethical constraints are being weaponized against us. Then we adapt, Picard decided, fury and sorrow warring in his chest. All ships, if converted vessels attempt suicide attacks, you are authorized to destroy them. I will not watch thousands die because we're too principled to defend ourselves. But the authorization came too late. 4 more converted ships rammed Vulcan's defense platforms, creating gaps in the orbital defenses that the Ori warship exploited. Its primary weapon fired, that terrible white beam that converted matter to energy, striking Vulcan's capital city of Shikar. 2 million Vulcans died in the span of a minute. An entire city erased. The center of Vulcan philosophy, art, science, gone. The Ori warship departed, leaving destruction and horror in its wake. The converted fleet retreated to safety, their crews believing they'd done righteous work in the name of their gods. And Picard sat in his command chair, surrounded by the aftermath of a battle where morality had become a weapon used against him, wondering how many more cities would burn before they found Merlin's weapon. If they found it at all. The final component of the Sangreal was located in Atlantis, the legendary city the ancients had built in the Pegasus galaxy, 3 million light-years from the Milky Way. Getting there required technology the Federation didn't possess and time they didn't have. Fortunately, the ancients had built communication devices that operated across intergalactic distances. Data, Sam Carter, and Daniel Jackson activated one such device discovered in an outpost near the Bajoran wormhole. The technology was complex, required an operator to physically interface with ancient systems, their consciousness transmitted across space to inhabit a host body on the other end. I'll go, Data volunteered. My positronic brain is compatible with ancient technology, and I can transmit and return without risking biological damage that would affect human operators. The device activated. Data's consciousness departed his android body, traveling 3 million light-years in the span of a heartbeat, arriving in Atlantis and inhabiting a willing host, a scientist named Dr. Rodney McKay, who was deeply unhappy about the arrangement but cooperating because the fate of 2 galaxies depended on it. Through McKay's eyes, Data saw Atlantis, a city of towers and spires, ancient architecture on a scale that dwarfed anything in the Milky Way, floating on an alien ocean beneath unfamiliar stars. Beautiful, impossible, real. Colonel John Shepard, military commander of the Atlantis expedition, met Data in the city's control room. "So you're the android, possessing McKay. This is weird even by our standards." "I apologize for the intrusion," Data replied through McKay's voice, though the cadence was distinctly Data's. "We require access to Merlin's research, stored in Atlantis's database, the third component of the Sangral." "Yeah, we found references to it," Shepard confirmed, pulling up ancient text on holographic displays. "Merlin visited Atlantis about 10,000 years ago, right before the ancients abandoned Pegasus. He left detailed plans for his anti-ascended weapon. But there's bad news." "Elaborate," Data requested. "The Sangral won't just hurt the Ori," Dr. McKay's voice said, the real McKay, speaking from somewhere in his own mind that Data was politely not accessing. "It will de-ascend them, force them back to corporeal form, and in that form, they're mortal. They can be killed." "That is excellent news," Data observed. "The bad news," Shepard continued, "is the weapon requires massive power, 3 zero-point modules minimum. And it's a one-way trip. Whoever pilots the weapon into Ori territory won't be coming back. It's a suicide mission." Data processed this. Nevertheless, the weapon must be completed. "The alternative is allowing the Ori to exterminate both galaxies." "Agreed," Shepard said. "We're transmitting Merlin's complete research back through your communication device. You'll have everything you need to build the Sangreal. But Data, make sure whoever volunteers for the final mission understands what they're signing up for. This isn't heroism, it's sacrifice, and there's no coming back from it." Data downloaded the research, prepared to return to his own body, but before disconnecting, he asked one final question. "Colonel Shepard, you have defended Atlantis against numerous threats. What advice would you give for fighting enemies that seem invincible?" Shepard smiled, McKay's face carrying an expression McKay himself rarely wore. "Find their weakness. Everyone has one, even gods. You just have to be desperate enough to exploit it. And Data, you're dealing with the Ori. Desperate is exactly where you need to be." Data's consciousness returned to his android body. He opened his eyes aboard the Enterprise to find Picard, Sam, Daniel, and others waiting anxiously. "Did you succeed?" Picard asked. "Yes, Captain," Data confirmed. "I have the complete specifications for the Sangral. We can build it, but there is significant information you must understand about the weapon's deployment requirements." Data explained the suicide mission, the need for 3 ZPMs, the fact that the weapon would kill its operator along with the Ori. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Someone would have to die, willingly, knowingly. Flying into the Ori galaxy with no hope of return, detonating a weapon that would kill gods and themselves simultaneously. "We'll find volunteers," Picard said quietly. "We must, because the alternative is watching billions die under Ori oppression." "How long to build the weapon?" With combined Federation, Klingon and Romulan resources, Sam calculated rapidly. 4 weeks. Maybe 3, if we work around the clock. "The Ori deadline is in 18 hours, Daniel pointed out. "Then we buy time," Picard decided. "We hold Earth. We hold Vulcan. We hold every critical world until the Sangral is ready. And we pray that when the time comes, someone has the courage to use it." Worf spoke up from his position. Captain, there will be volunteers. I myself would consider it an honor to deliver the weapon that kills the Ori. There is no greater glory than dying to save billions. And there's the problem, Picard said quietly. Too many people will volunteer, too many heroes willing to die. Our challenge won't be finding someone brave enough. It will be choosing who gets to make that sacrifice. We have 3 weeks to worry about that, Mitchell said. Right now, we worry about surviving the next 18 hours, because the Ori Crusade is about to arrive, and all we've got to fight them with is hope and stubbornness. Hope and stubbornness, Picard repeated. It will have to be enough. Utopia Planitia shipyards had been repurposed from starship construction to weapons development. The massive orbital facility above Mars now housed the most important project in Federation history, building a device to kill gods. The Sangrel took shape over 3 weeks of around-the-clock work. Federation engineers collaborated with Klingon weapons specialists and Romulan physicists, all guided by SG-1's experience with ancient technology. The device was massive, roughly the size of a Galaxy-class starship's saucer section, and unlike anything any of them had built before. The theoretical framework is sound, Data explained to the assembled team in the main engineering bay. The Sangrel generates a subspace resonance field that disrupts the quantum frequency at which ascended beings exist. When activated within proximity to Ori, it will force them to de-ascend to revert from energy-based consciousness to corporeal physical form, and in corporeal form, they can be killed, Geordi added, studying the device's power distribution network. But the energy requirements are staggering. We're talking about affecting beings that exist across multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. That's why we need 3 ZPMs. Sam Carter stood beside a holographic display showing the ZPM installation points. Each 0-point module can power a city for millennia. We're going to drain all 3 in approximately 47 seconds of operation. That's how much energy it takes to touch gods. Do we have the ZPMs? Commander Tomalak asked. The Romulan had been assigned as liaison for his government's contribution to the project, resources, personnel and a disturbing efficiency in weapons design that made even the Klingons uncomfortable. We have one, Daniel Jackson confirmed, gesturing to a cylindrical device already installed in the Sangrel's core. From Atlantis, we need 2 more. The ancient database you recovered from Camelot contains references to a ZPM manufacturing facility, Data said, pulling up star charts. Planet Praglarush Tatachanis, in the Kaliem sector. The facility was abandoned approximately 10 million years ago when the ancients left this galaxy. However, sensor readings suggest it may still contain functional ZPMs. May Martok repeated, his warrior's skepticism evident. We're building a god-killing weapon based on May. Do you have an alternative? Picard asked quietly. Because the Ori Crusade has now converted 70 Federation worlds, destroyed 20 more, and killed over 500 billion sentients. May is the best option we have. Martok nodded slowly. Then we retrieve these ZPMs. I volunteer the IKS Rotoran for the expedition. If the facility contains dangers, Klingon warriors will face them with honor. An away team departs within the hour, Picard decided. Mr. Data, Major Carter, Mr. LaForge, Dr. Jackson. You'll accompany General Martok to Praklarush. Find those ZPMs. The Sangral is useless without them. Praklarush, Tethanas, was a dead world. Its star was dying, a red giant that had expanded to consume the inner planets, leaving Praklarush as a scorched husk, barely clinging to existence in an ever-decaying orbit. The ancient facility was buried deep beneath the planet's crust, protected by shields that had somehow survived 10 million years of stellar radiation. Life support is functional. Data reported as the away team materialized inside the facility. Atmosphere is breathable. Gravity is standard. The ancients built their installations to last. The facility was enormous, corridors that stretched for kilometers, chambers the size of starship hangars, all constructed from materials that Federation tricorders couldn't fully analyze, and everywhere that distinctive ancient aesthetic, smooth curves, crystalline structures, technology that looked organic rather than manufactured. CPM storage should be in the central power core, Sam said, following directions from the ancient database. This way, they proceeded through the facility, passing chambers that had once held ancient scientists working on projects the team could barely comprehend. Weapons research, dimensional physics, temporal mechanics. The ancients had been studying the fundamental nature of reality itself in this place. "Someone's here," Worf said suddenly, his hand moving to his phaser. "I hear movement, multiple contacts." From the shadows, figures emerged. Not living beings, holographic constructs, similar to the combat holograms they'd encountered on previous ancient worlds. But these were different, more sophisticated, more aware. The lead hologram coalesced into the form of an elderly woman, her ancient robes flowing despite being made of pure light. When she spoke, her voice carried weight that suggested this was more than a simple recording. "I am Ganos Lal, though you might know me by another name, Morgan Le Fay. I was Merlin's student, his colleague, his friend. He tasked me with guarding this facility against those who would misuse ancient technology." "State your purpose." Daniel stepped forward, recognizing the historical significance. "Morgan Le Fay, the legends were true. You're an advanced AI? A copy of the original ancient's consciousness." "I am what Merlin made me," the hologram replied. "A guardian, a gatekeeper. You seek CPMs to power the Sangral. I sense the weapon's energy signature. You've begun construction. But before I grant you access to the power you require, you must prove you understand the responsibility that comes with killing gods." "We understand the stakes," Picard said. "The Ori are destroying our civilization. Billions have died. We have no choice but to fight them." "Everyone has choices," Morgan replied. "The question is whether you can live with the consequences. Answer me this. When you kill the Ori, what happens to their followers? The billions who have converted to Origin, who genuinely believe the Ori are divine. When their gods die, what becomes of them?" The away team exchanged glances. None of them had considered this question deeply enough. "They'll be freed," Sam suggested. "Without the Ori empowering the priors, without the miracles, the faith will collapse. People will return to rationality." "Will they?" Morgan challenged. "Or will they be traumatized, lost, adrift in a universe where everything they believed was proven false?" "Faith doesn't die easily. Kill the Ori, and you may create billions of broken people who can never trust anything again. Is that mercy? Is that justice? Or is it simply a different kind of cruelty?" Data processed this philosophical challenge with android precision. You pose a question with no perfect answer. Any course of action produces harm. Allowing the Ori to continue results in genocide of non-believers. Killing the Ori results in psychological trauma to believers. The ethical choice is to minimize total suffering, which suggests killing the Ori is the lesser evil. "Spoken like a machine," Morgan said, but her tone carried approval rather than insult. "You're correct, of course. There are no perfect solutions when fighting gods. Only choices about which imperfections you can accept. But Data, you're not just a machine, are you? You're someone who chooses to be more. That capacity for choice, for growth, for becoming better than your programming, that's what the ancients saw in humanity. That's why we left the Sangral for you to find." The holographic guardian gestured, and a doorway opened in the chamber's wall. Beyond lay the ZPM storage, dozens of cylindrical devices, each one capable of powering cities for millennia. "Take what you need," Morgan said. "Build the weapon, kill the Ori, but remember, when you succeed, if you succeed, the galaxy you save will be wounded. Billions of people will need help recovering from the trauma of losing their faith. The Federation's responsibility doesn't end when the Ori die, it begins." Data stepped forward, carefully extracting 2 ZPMs from their storage cradles. "We will remember, the Federation does not abandon people in need. Those who suffer from Origin's collapse will receive aid, counseling, support. This I promise." "Then you are worthy," Morgan said, and her holographic form began to fade. Merlin would be proud. He always believed that mortals could rise to meet any challenge if given the right tools. Prove him right, kill the false gods, save your galaxy, and help the victims rebuild afterward. The hologram vanished completely, leaving the away team alone with the ZPMs they'd come to claim. "We have what we need," Data confirmed. "The Sangreal can be completed." The Ori learned about the Sangreal through one of their converted spies, a former Starfleet officer who'd embraced Origin and infiltrated the Utopia Planitia facility. The spy transmitted everything: the weapon's specifications, its purpose, its location. The Dosi received the intelligence and made an immediate decision: the Sangreal must be destroyed before completion. If the weapon succeeded, the Ori themselves could die. That was unacceptable. 20 Ori warships emerged from their wormhole network simultaneously, converging on Mars from multiple vectors. They'd learned from previous engagements, no longer attacking individually, no longer underestimating Federation defenses. This was a coordinated assault designed to overwhelm through sheer concentrated power. "All hands, battle stations." Admiral Ross's voice echoed across every Federation ship in the Sol system. "Ori fleet inbound. 40 contacts total. Defend Utopia Planitia at all costs." The Federation had prepared for this. 40 starships orbited Mars, the largest defensive fleet ever assembled: Enterprise, Defiant, Voyager, Sovereign, and dozens of others. Klingon reinforcements added another 15 vessels, including Martok's flagship Rotaran. Romulan forces contributed 12 warbirds under Tomulak's command. 67 Allied ships against 20 Ori warships. The numbers seemed favorable until the Ori opened fire. The USS Bellerophon, a Nebula-class starship with 750 crew, took a direct hit from an Ori primary beam. The ship's shields, designed to withstand punishment from anything the Borg or Dominion could throw at them, lasted exactly 2.3 seconds before catastrophic failure. The beam continued through the hull, converting matter to energy, and the Bellerophon simply ceased to exist. 750 people gone in the time it took to breathe. Evasive maneuvers. Picard ordered from the Enterprise's bridge: "All ships, Delta formation. Concentrate fire on individual targets. Don't let them pick us apart." The Enterprise's modified phaser arrays, now enhanced with Esgard beam technology courtesy of Thor's contributions, fired at the nearest Ori warship. The beams struck shields that flared brilliant white, but held. The Ori had adapted since the Battle of Vulcan. Their defenses were stronger now, shields holding at 92%. Data reported. "Our weapons are having minimal effect." "Then we adapt," Riker said. "Worf, load quantum torpedoes, full spread, target their reactor signatures." The Enterprise launched 6 quantum torpedoes simultaneously. The Ori warship's shields intercepted 5. The 6th phased through some quirk of quantum mechanics, allowing it to bypass the barrier, and detonated inside the ship's hull. Damage, but not destruction. The Ori vessel was wounded, but still operational. That's our weakness in their defenses. Geordie called from engineering. Quantum torpedoes have a random probability of shield penetration. It's not reliable, but it's something. Across the battlefield, other ships copied the tactic, quantum torpedoes from every vessel capable of launching them. Most were stopped. Some got through. Slowly, incrementally, the Ori fleet began taking damage, but they were taking worse than they gave. The USS Cairo exploded under concentrated fire from 3 Ori ships. The IKS Quivert rammed an Ori vessel in a suicide attack that damaged but didn't destroy the enemy. The Romulan warbird Kazara was crippled, venting plasma, its crew evacuating in escape pods. "We're losing," Ross transmitted across all channels. "All ships fall back to secondary defensive perimeter. We need to buy time." Ingetivity, a new voice cut in. It was Cisco, commanding the Defiant. "We don't fall back. We push forward. Enterprise, Voyager, Rotaran, on me. We're going to use ancient drones." The Defiant had been retrofitted with a limited supply of ancient drone weapons, the phase-shifting missiles that SG-1 had provided from their stockpiles. Now those drones launched, golden streaks of energy that wove through space with impossible agility, phasing through Ori's shields as if they didn't exist. 3 Ori warships took direct hits. The drones penetrated hulls, sought out power cores, detonated with energy releases that tore the massive vessels apart from within. 3 Ori ships destroyed in as many seconds. But there weren't enough drones. The Defiant exhausted its supply after destroying 3 targets. 17 Ori warships remained, and the Allied fleet was down to 43 functional vessels. Martok to all ships. The Klingon general's voice carried the certainty of someone who'd accepted death and found honor in it. "Today is a good day to die, but we will not die quietly." Ramming speed. The Rotaran, her shields gone and hull breached in a dozen places, accelerated directly toward an Ori warship at full impulse. Martok stood on his bridge, bat'leth raised, singing Klingon war songs as his ship became a missile. The collision was spectacular. The Rotaran's warp core, deliberately overloaded, detonated on impact with enough force to crack the Ori vessel's hull. Both ships exploded, Klingon and Ori alike consumed in a fireball that lit up Mars's night sky. "Transport," Picard shouted. "Beam Martok out before." "Got him," the transporter chief reported. "Barely. He materialized unconscious but alive. Medical team is..." "Captain, the Ori are breaking through," Worf interrupted. 2 warships have bypassed the defensive line. They're heading directly for Utopia Planitia. On the view screen, Picard watched 2 Ori vessels accelerate toward the shipyards where the Sangral was being constructed. If those ships reached the facility, if they destroyed the weapon before it could be completed, everything they'd sacrificed would be meaningless. "Enterprise, full impulse, intercept course," Picard ordered. "We stop them here. Whatever it cost." The Sangral was complete. 3 ZPMs installed, weapon systems online, power conduits charged and ready. It sat in Utopia Planitia's main assembly bay, a monument to desperation and hope. Humanity's answer to gods who demanded worship at gunpoint. But the weapon required a pilot, someone to fly it through the Ori wormhole network into their home galaxy, activate the device in proximity to the Ori themselves, and die in the process. The energy release from deascending 4 Ori simultaneously would vaporize everything within 500,000 kilometers. There was no escape, no survival, just sacrifice. "I'll do it," Picard said immediately when the issue was raised. "I'm the captain. It's my responsibility." "Captain, With respect, you're needed here, Riker argued. The Federation needs its best tactical minds coordinating the defense. I should pilot the weapon. I've always been ready to give my life for. That is precisely why you cannot go, Commander, Data interrupted. You have a wife, a daughter. Your sacrifice would serve the mission, but harm those who depend on you. I, however, am an android. No family, no emotional attachments that would cause suffering through my loss. Logically, I am the optimal choice. You're not expendable just because you're synthetic, Dr. Crusher said fiercely. Data, you're as alive as any of us. Don't diminish that. I do not diminish it, Data replied. I simply acknowledge that some lives create more collateral damage when lost than others. My death would be mourned, but would not devastate dependence in the way that loss of organics with families would. This is logic, not self-deprecation. Worf stepped forward. Klingon warriors seek honorable death in service of a greater cause. I volunteer. There is no glory greater than killing false gods to save billions. I'm going, Cameron Mitchell said flatly. This is an SG-1 mission. We've been fighting the Ori longer than anyone. It should be one of us who finishes it. Don't be ridiculous, Vala Maldoran interrupted, walking into the debate that had been raging for an hour. None of you are going. I'm piloting the Sangrol. Every head turned to her. Daniel started to protest. Vala, you can't. I can and I will, Vala said, her usual humor completely absent. And before anyone argues, let me explain why I'm the only logical choice. She walked to the Sangrol, placed her hand on its hull. 5 years ago I was host to an Ori prior, possessed completely. The Goa'uld symbiote I'd been carrying before was replaced by an Ori consciousness for 6 months before SG-1 managed to extract it. That possession left genetic markers, Ori DNA integrated into my cells. I carry Ori biological signatures. Sam Carter's eyes widened. That means you could pass their biosecurity measures. The Ori won't detect you as a threat, because part of you registers as one of them. Exactly, Vala confirmed. Any of you try to fly the Sangral into Ori territory, they'll detect the weapon and you instantly. You'll never get close enough to activate it. But me, I've got Ori genetics. I can slip past their sensors long enough to reach Celestis, long enough to deploy the weapon. I'm not just a volunteer. I'm the only one who can actually succeed. Daniel stepped closer, his voice strained. There has to be another way. You can't just. There isn't another way, Vala said gently. Daniel, you know that. We've tried everything else. This weapon is our last chance, and it only works if someone can deliver it to the Ori themselves. That someone is me. This is unacceptable, Picard said. We cannot ask this sacrifice. You're not asking, Vala interrupted. I'm volunteering. Big difference. Look, I've been a lot of things. Thief, con artist, host to evil, general pain in everyone's ass. But for the last few years, I've been part of SG-1. I've been a hero, maybe not a conventional one, maybe not someone who gets statues built in their honor, but a hero nonetheless. And heroes make the hard choices. They do what needs to be done, even when it costs everything. She looked directly at Daniel. Someone has to kill gods today. Might as well be me. The room fell silent. No one could argue with her logic. No one wanted to accept her decision, but everyone understood it was necessary. How long until you can launch? Admiral Ross asked quietly. The Sangrol is ready now, Sam replied. We just need to install the modified Ori warship engine we captured. Vala can depart within 3 hours. Then we have 3 hours, Picard said, to say goodbye, to prepare, to make peace with what comes next. 2 hours later, Vala stood in the Sangrel's cockpit, checking systems one final time. The weapon had been integrated into a captured Ori warship hull, the only way to safely transport it through the Ori wormhole network without being destroyed in transit. SG-1 came to see her off. Cameron first, offering a handshake that turned into a hug. "You're a pain in the ass, Maldorin, but you're our pain in the ass." "It's been an honor." Tealik bowed, formally. "You have proven yourself a warrior, worthy of song. Your sacrifice will be remembered across 2 galaxies. Hallowed are not the Ori. Hallowed is Vala Maldoran." Sam hugged her tightly. "You're braver than I'll ever be. Thank you for everything." Daniel was last. He approached slowly, and for a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Daniel said, "Come back." "That's an order." "Not how suicide missions work, Daniel," Vala replied, forcing a smile. "Then, at least." Daniel couldn't finish. Couldn't find words adequate to the moment. Instead, he pulled Vala into an embrace, holding her like he could physically prevent her departure through sheer desperation. "Daniel," Vala whispered, "I need to tell you something. In case I don't get another chance." "Don't," Daniel interrupted. "Don't say goodbye. Just promise me you'll try to survive, even if it's impossible. Even if the odds are 0. Promise you'll try." "I promise," Vala lied, because they both knew survival wasn't possible and kindness mattered more than honesty right now. She pulled back, met his eyes one final time. "Take care of the galaxy for me, Daniel, and try to smile occasionally. You're terrible at brooding." Then she was in the pilot's seat, systems activating, the modified Ori warship beginning its launch sequence. "Vela to Enterprise," she transmitted. "I'm ready. Opening wormhole to Ori Galaxy in 3, 2, 1. The wormhole formed, brilliant white gold energy that tore a hole through reality itself, connecting the Milky Way to Celestis 30 million light-years away. Villa's ship accelerated into the aperture and vanished. On the Enterprise bridge, Daniel watched her disappear. Picard placed a hand on his shoulder. "She's giving 2 galaxies a chance to survive. That's not a small thing. It's everything," Daniel replied. "And it's not enough." While Vala flew toward her death, the Ori launched their final assault on the Federation. 100 Ori warships emerged from wormholes simultaneously across Federation space. Earth, Vulcan and Doria, Tela, every core world under siege at once. The Ori had learned from their previous attacks: strike everywhere, overwhelm defenses, break the Federation's will to resist. Pyres landed on planetary surfaces by the thousands, protected by Ori warships in orbit. They didn't negotiate, didn't offer chances for peaceful conversion. Just ultimatums delivered with absolute certainty. Kneel before the Ori or burn. There is no third option. On Earth, Starfleet Academy became ground zero for forced conversions. Priors walked through crowds of cadets, staff officers touching each person's forehead, channeling Ori power directly into their minds. Those who accepted origin willingly were allowed to live. Those who resisted were executed, vaporized where they stood, turned to ash by powers that mortals couldn't comprehend. Picard watched this happen through view-screen feeds from the surface. Watched a prior approach Admiral Nakamura, 70 years in Starfleet, veteran of the Dominion War, one of the finest tactical minds in the fleet. Watched Nakamura refuse conversion. Watched the prior raise his hand and reduce Nakamura to atoms. "How many have we lost?" Picard asked, his voice hollow. "On Earth alone," Data replied. 700 million dead in the last 4 hours. Vulcan has lost 3 billion. Andoria 1.2 billion. Tela 900 million. Captain, at this rate of attrition, the Federation will cease to exist within 72 hours. On Vulcan, the response to Ori demands was characteristically logical. Vulcans, as a species, approached religion through philosophy rather than emotion. When priors demanded they worship the Ori, Vulcan scholars politely explained that worshipping beings who achieved power through evolution rather than creation was illogical. The Ori's response was orbital bombardment. Shikar, capital of Vulcan, home to the planet's greatest libraries and scientific institutions, was targeted by 6 Ori warships firing simultaneously. The city, home to 15 million Vulcans, was vaporized in 30 seconds. The bombardment continued for another 10 minutes, carving a crater 200 kilometers wide into Vulcan's surface. Ambassador Spock, who'd been in Shikar negotiating with the Science Academy about potential ancient technology applications, barely escaped via emergency transport. He materialized aboard the Enterprise, his robes singed, his face carrying an expression Picard had never seen, grief so profound that even Vulcan emotional control couldn't fully contain it. "Captain," Spock said, his voice controlled but strained, "I have just witnessed the destruction of everything my civilization has built over millennia. Our greatest minds, our most important cultural artifacts, our irreplaceable historical records, all gone. The Ori have not simply killed Vulcans. They have attempted to murder Vulcan culture itself. We're fighting back," Picard said. "Vala is delivering the Sangrel to Celestis as we speak. If she succeeds..." "If," Spock repeated. "That is an insufficient response to genocide, Captain. If you have a plan, now would be optimal timing to implement it." "We do," Picard confirmed, "but it requires time we don't have. Enterprise must hold Earth while Vala reaches the Ori homeworld. We have to buy her the hours she needs to deploy the weapon." "Then we buy them," Spock said simply. "Logic suggests our deaths here will have meaning if they permit billions of others to survive. That is acceptable." The transmission from Vala came 20 minutes later. "Vala to Enterprise. I've reached the Ori galaxy. Celestis it's beautiful, terrible but beautiful. The city is made of light itself. I can see them. The Ori as energy patterns moving through structures that shouldn't exist in 3-dimensional space. I'm beginning my approach. This is probably the last time we'll talk. Tell Daniel, tell him I wasn't lying. I really did love him, even if I never said it out loud." "Vala out." The transmission ended. The Enterprise's long-range sensors detected massive energy discharges from Celestis, the Sangral activating, reality itself screaming as the weapon forced ascended beings back into mortal form. And on Earth, as Picard watched Ori warships continue their bombardment, he wondered if Vala's sacrifice would be enough, or if they were all about to die anyway. Vala Maldoran sat in the pilot's seat of what had once been an Ori warship captured, retrofitted, and now carrying the Sangral in its cargo hold. The ship's interior still bore Ori aesthetic white walls that seemed to glow from within, control panels that responded to thought as much as touch, corridors designed for beings who believed themselves divine. Now those corridors carried the weapon that would kill their gods. "Final systems check." Sam Carter's voice came through the comm from Utopia Planetia's control center. "ZPMs at full charge. Sangral power core stable. Navigation computer programmed with Ori wormhole coordinates. Vala, you're ready to launch." "Ready," Vala replied, her hands moving over controls with practiced efficiency. "Just one small problem. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. This ship is designed for priors who channel Ori power through their minds. I'm just a former thief with delusions of adequacy." "You flew gold motherships," Daniel's voice cut in. "This isn't that different. The ship will respond to your intent. Think about where you want to go, and the ship will take you there. Think happy thoughts and I can fly." Vala muttered, "Right, because that's not terrifying at all." She glanced at the small holographic display showing the Enterprise bridge, where Picard, SG-1 and senior officers had gathered to witness the launch. Cameron Mitchell gave her a thumbs up. Teal'c inclined his head in respectful acknowledgement. Sam tried to smile but couldn't quite manage it. And Daniel looked like he was watching someone walk to the gallows. "Daniel," Vala said quietly, "stop brooding. You're terrible at it. I'm going to fly into the Ori galaxy, push a button that kills gods, and probably get vaporized in the process. It's a Tuesday. We've done worse." "No, we haven't," Daniel replied, his voice strained. "Vala, there has to be another way. You can't just... There isn't another way," Vala interrupted gently. "We've been over this. The Ori won't detect me, because I carry their genetic markers. Anyone else tries this mission, they die before reaching Celestis. It has to be me. It's always been me." She took a breath, forced herself to say what needed to be said while she still could. "Daniel Jackson, you are the most frustrating, brilliant, stubborn, compassionate man I've ever met. You made me want to be better than I was. You made me believe I could be a hero instead of just a thief. That's not a small thing, so thank you for seeing something in me worth saving." "Vala," Daniel started, but she cut the transmission before he could finish. Couldn't bear to hear him try to talk her out of this. Couldn't bear to hear the goodbye she knew was coming. Initiating wormhole sequence, Vala announced to the control center. "Coordinates locked on Celestis. Entering Ori Galaxy in 3, 2, 1. The wormhole opened before her ship, brilliant white gold energy that tore reality like tissue paper. Vala accelerated into the aperture, and the universe inverted. Space became non-space. Time became elastic. She was traveling 30 million light-years in the span of heartbeats, crossing the void between galaxies through a tunnel that shouldn't exist. Then she emerged into the Ori Galaxy. It was beautiful, terrifying, incomprehensible, wrong in ways that made her brain hurt trying to process, but beautiful. Stars burned brighter here, closer together, younger and more violent. And ahead, visible even from millions of kilometers away, the city of Celestis hung in space like a jewel carved from frozen light. "Holy hell," Vala whispered. "Sam, are you seeing this?" "We're receiving telemetry," Sam confirmed. Her voice awed, despite the distance. "Vala, Celestis isn't just a city. It's a construct existing in multiple dimensional phases simultaneously. The Ori built it to exist partially in ascended space. That's why it looks like that. You're seeing something that's only partially in our reality. The city was impossible. Towers that bent in directions three-dimensional space didn't allow, structures that seemed to be inside out and right side up simultaneously. And throughout it all, Vala could see them, the Ori themselves, energy patterns moving through the city like living lightning, conscious and aware, and looking directly at her ship. "They've detected me," Vala reported, her hands tightening on the controls. "Multiple Ori signatures converging on my position. They're coming to investigate. I need to get the Sangreal closer before they realize what I'm carrying." "How close?" Daniel asked. "Merlin's specifications say within 500,000 kilometers for optimal effect," Vala replied, checking her instruments. "I'm currently at 2 million kilometers, so I need to cover 1.5 million kilometers while 4 angry gods decide whether to vaporize me." "Can you make it?" Picard's voice, calm and authoritative. "We're about to find out," Vala said, accelerating toward Celestis. "If anyone's taking bets, now would be the time." The Ori reached her ship. She felt them not physically, but as pressure against her mind, consciousness pressing against her thoughts like hands testing a locked door. They were trying to understand what she was. Why an Ori warship carried the genetic signature of a prior, but felt wrong, tainted, combined with something mortal. Who are you? The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, resonating in her skull rather than her ears. You carry the mark of origin, but serve the unbelievers. You are corruption made manifest. You will be cleansed. Not today, Vala muttered, and pushed the ship harder. Energy beams lanced from Celestis Ori power, pure, undirected, capable of erasing matter from existence. The ship's shields held, barely the captured Ori technology recognizing its creators and providing just enough protection to prevent instant destruction. But the shields were failing. Each hit degraded them further. Vela had maybe 30 seconds before the next blast turned her ship into expanding plasma. 1,000,000 kilometers, she announced, watching the distance counter drop. Come on! Come on! Another blast. Shields dropped to 40%. The ship shuddered, hull plating vaporizing. 900,000 kilometers. Almost there. Just a little further. A third blast. Shields at 15%. Warning klaxons, screaming. The ship was dying around her. 600,000 kilometers. That's close enough. Activating Sangral. Now, in the Milky Way, the Enterprise held position at the wormhole's mouth, preventing 50 Ori warships from pursuing Vala into their home galaxy. It was a suicide mission, and everyone aboard knew it. All ships, attack pattern Omega. Picard ordered, standing at the center of a bridge that had taken massive damage. Console sparked. Emergency lighting cast everything in red. The view screen showed a tactical situation that was mathematically impossible to survive. 50 Ori warships. 31 Allied vessels remaining. The numbers were brutal. They're trying to force passage through the wormhole, Worf reported from Tactical. They know what Vala is doing. They're trying to stop her. Then we stop them, Picard said simply. No Ori ships reach that wormhole. Not one. Whatever it costs. The Enterprise's phaser arrays fired continuously, beams that had been enhanced with Asgard technology striking Ori shields with energy that would have destroyed any conventional vessel. But the Ori warships absorbed the punishment, shields regenerating faster than the Enterprise could damage them. We're not hurting them enough, Riker said, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. Captain, at this rate, they'll overrun us in minutes. Then we hold for minutes, Picard replied. Commander Data, redirect all power from life support, non-essential systems, everything. Channel it to weapons and shields. We're buying Vala time measured in seconds. Make every second count. Across the fleet, other captains made similar decisions. The USS Voyager, commanded by Captain Janeway, positioned herself directly in front of the wormhole, becoming a physical barrier. They want through. They go through us first. The Defiant, piloted by Benjamin Sisko, who'd returned specifically for this battle, used every trick he'd learned fighting the Dominion. Attack patterns that maximized damage while minimizing exposure, quantum torpedoes fired in rapid succession. Ancient drones launched from jury-rigged launchers, each one finding its target with lethal precision. Worf commanded the remaining Klingon vessels in formation. Their bird-of-prey ships darting between Ori warships like wolves harassing bears. Individual ships couldn't win, but coordinated attacks created vulnerabilities that larger vessels exploited. And Commander Tomalak's Romulan warbirds used cloaking technology to devastating effect, appearing behind Ori ships, firing plasma torpedoes at point-blank range, then cloaking again before return fire arrived. But it wasn't enough. One by one, Allied ships fell. The USS Thunderchild took a direct hit from an Ori primary beam. Her shields collapsed. The beam continued through the saucer section, vaporizing the bridge and everyone on it. The ship tumbled, dead in space, debris trailing from catastrophic wounds. The IKS Quavat, Martuk's second flagship after losing the Rotoran, rammed an Ori vessel at full impulse. The collision was spectacular, both ships exploding in a fireball that could be seen from Earth. Martuk beamed out at the last second, materializing on the Enterprise's bridge, his armor scorched, and his face carrying the satisfaction of someone who'd just killed a god with style. "Status?" Martuk demanded immediately. "We're losing," Worf replied bluntly. "But we're losing slowly. That may be enough." The Romulan warbird IRW Kazara, decloaked behind an Ori ship, fired every weapon she possessed in a single devastating alpha strike, then was caught by return fire that shattered her into fragments. 200 Romulans dead, but the Ori ship they'd targeted was crippled, drifting, no longer contributing to the battle. Enterprise shields at 30%, Data reported. "We have sustained catastrophic damage to decks 7 through 15. Hull breaches on 12 decks. Casualties are extensive." The bridge shuddered as another Ori beam struck. Consoles exploded. Counselor Troy was thrown from her chair, catching herself on the railing. Dr. Crusher materialized from the turbolift, heading straight for the wounded without waiting for orders. "We can't hold much longer," Riker said quietly. "Captain, if Vala doesn't succeed soon..." "She will," Picard interrupted. "She must, because the alternative is unacceptable." On the view screen, the wormhole suddenly flared brilliant white. Not the normal white gold of Ori wormhole travel, but pure searing white that hurt to look at. Energy poured through the aperture, feedback from something happening 30 million light-years away. "Captain," Data announced, his voice carrying something that might have been excitement if androids experienced such things. "I'm detecting massive subspace disruptions from the Ori galaxy. The energy signature matches the Sangrol's theoretical output. Vala has activated the weapon." Every person on the Enterprise's bridge turned to the view screen, watching the wormhole pulse with energy that seemed to be tearing reality itself, and then it stopped. The wormhole collapsed. The energy dissipated. Silence fell across the battlefield. The Ori warships stopped. Just stopped. Their weapons powered down. Their engines went dark. 50 massive vessels that had been fighting with coordinated precision suddenly became lifeless hulls, drifting in space. "What happened?" Picard demanded. "Mr. Data, analysis. The Ori warships have lost power," Data reported, scanning frantically. "Their reactors are offline. Their shields are down. They're not responding to any commands. It's as if, Captain, it's as if something that was animating them has simply ceased to exist." "The Ori," Daniel Jackson said from his position at a science station, his voice carrying realization and horror and hope all mixed together. "The ships were powered by the Ori's ascended energy. When Vala killed the Ori, when the Sangral deascended them and they died, the power source driving these ships disappeared. They're not damaged, they're just empty." "Cease fire," Picard ordered. "All ships, cease fire. Mr. Data, scan for life signs aboard those Ori vessels." "Scanning," Data confirmed. "I detect human life signs aboard all 50 ships. Wire crews, converted followers, soldiers who believed they served gods. Approximately 200,000 people total, all alive, all apparently unharmed. But Captain, they're confused, distressed. The mental link they had with the Ori has been severed. They're experiencing psychological shock." Picard stood, his uniform torn and blood-stained, his ship battered but intact, and made a decision that would define how history remembered this day. "Open a channel. All frequencies. Broadcast to every Ori vessel." "Channel open, sir." Picard took a breath, chose his words carefully. Attention former followers of the Ori. This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. The Ori are dead. They were killed by a weapon designed to strip away their ascended powers and force them back to mortal form. In that form they were vulnerable. They were destroyed. The gods you worshipped are gone. He paused, letting that sink in. Across 50 ships, 200,000 people were hearing their entire belief system collapse in real time. I know this is difficult to accept, Picard continued. You've witnessed miracles, you've felt the Ori's power, but that power came from stolen ancient technology, not divinity. The Ori were beings who ascended through evolution, then demanded worship from those less fortunate. They were tyrants, not gods, and tyrants can be killed. Another pause. The bridge was silent, everyone waiting to see how this would end. The Federation offers you asylum, citizenship, a chance to rebuild your lives free from the Ori's control. We don't expect you to abandon your faith immediately. We understand that beliefs don't die as easily as the beings who inspired them. But we offer you truth, freedom, and time to heal. If you wish to accept, lower your shields and prepare for rescue operations. If you wish to remain independent, you're free to do so. We will not force you. That is the difference between us and the Ori. We offer choice. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the Ori warships began lowering their shields. 50 massive vessels carrying 200,000 traumatized souls, accepting the Federation's offer of sanctuary. We'll need a lot of counselors, Troy said quietly. Then we'll train more, Picard replied. This is what the Federation does. We help, we heal, we teach. That's how we win, not just by defeating the enemy, but by helping their victims recover. Captain, Data interrupted. I'm receiving a transmission. It's from Vala's ship. Very weak. Audio only. On speaker, Picard ordered immediately. Static filled the bridge, then a voice barely recognizable, weak and distorted. Vela, to Enterprise. Mission accomplished. Sangrol worked. They ascended. All 4 Ori. They tried to fight me. But in mortal form. They were just flesh. Killed them with my hands. Snapped their necks. How's that for irony? Gods, killed by a thief. The transmission weakened further. Vala was dying, and everyone could hear it. The weapons detonating, energy buildup, unstoppable. I've got maybe 3 minutes. Not enough time to escape. But that's okay. I made my choice. Tell Daniel, tell him I loved him. Even if I never said it. While it mattered. Vala. Out. The transmission ended. On the view screen, the wormhole reopened briefly, just long enough for sensors to detect a massive explosion in the Ori galaxy. Energy equivalent to a supernova, contained within 500,000 kilometers, vaporizing everything at ground zero. Vaporizing Celestis. Vaporizing the Ori. Vaporizing Vala Maldoran. She's gone, Daniel said, his voice hollow. She's really gone. 3 weeks later, a Federation expedition traveled through a newly stabilized wormhole to the Ori galaxy, seeking to document what remained of Celestis and confirm the Ori's destruction. Captain Picard led the mission personally, bringing Daniel Jackson, Data, and a full science team. What they found was ash. Celestis, the City of Light. The construct that had existed across multiple dimensional planes, the home of false gods, was gone, completely, utterly. The Sangrel's detonation had erased it from existence, leaving only a slowly expanding cloud of ionized particles where the city had once stood. Scanning for remains, data reported from the Enterprise's bridge as they orbited the devastation. No structures intact, no technology recoverable. The energy release from the Sangral was sufficient to disintegrate matter at the molecular level. Celestis has been deleted. And the Oria? Picard asked. No life signs, data confirmed. No energy signatures consistent with ascended beings. No consciousness detected across any dimensional frequency we can scan. Captain, the Ori are extinct. Permanently. Daniel stood at a science station staring at the readings, his face carrying grief that went beyond professional loss. Vala had been his friend, his teammate, possibly more, though neither of them had ever quite admitted it. Captain, data continued, I'm detecting an anomaly at what would have been ground zero, a single crystalline structure, approximately 1 meter in diameter. It's emitting a low-level energy signature, possibly ancient technology designed to survive the detonation. Beam it aboard, Picard ordered. Cargo Bay 2. Let's see what it is. The crystal materialized on a cargo bay platform, glowing faintly with internal light. Data scanned it with his tricorder, his android features, showing something approaching wonder. Captain, this is a data storage device. Ancient design, similar to the crystals we found at Camelot and Atlantis. It contains a recorded message, dated to the moment of the Sangral's detonation. From Vala? Daniel asked, hope breaking through his grief. Yes, data confirmed. The crystal was programmed to record and preserve her final transmission. It's designed to survive planetary destruction. Merlin built failsafes into the Sangral. He wanted whoever used the weapon to be remembered. Shall I play it? Picard looked at Daniel, who nodded slowly. Play it. The crystal activated, projecting a hologram of Vala, not as she'd been at the end, wounded, dying, but as she'd been before launching, confident, sarcastic, alive. The hologram smiled, that familiar smirk that had driven Daniel crazy for years. If you're seeing this, holographic Vala said, I succeeded, and I'm probably very dead. Daniel, don't brood. You're terrible at brooding. Everyone else, thank you for letting me be a hero at the end. I was a thief, a liar, a host to evil, but you gave me a chance to be something better. The Ori said only gods could judge. They were wrong. We judged them, and we won. The hologram's expression softened. This message is being recorded 3 minutes before detonation. I'm sitting in a ship that's about to explode, surrounded by the corpses of gods I just killed with my bare hands. They tried to fight me in mortal form. Turns out ascended beings aren't very tough when they're just flesh and bone. I broke their necks, snapped them like twigs. How's that for a thief's final trick? A pause. The hologram looked directly at Daniel, as if Vala had known exactly where he'd be standing when this played. Daniel Jackson, you made me want to be better. That's the greatest gift anyone ever gave me. I loved you. Even if I never said it out loud, even if I spent years making jokes instead of being honest, I loved you, and I died, knowing that love mattered more than surviving. The hologram smile returned, bright and defiant. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep exploring. Keep being the brilliant, frustrating, wonderful man you are. And remember, I killed gods so mortals could live. That's not a bad legacy for a thief. Vala out. The hologram faded. The crystal went dark. The cargo bay was silent, except for the sound of Daniel Jackson trying not to cry and failing. Picard stepped forward, placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. She saved 2 galaxies. That's not hyperbole, that's fact. Without her sacrifice, the Ori would have exterminated every free-thinking being in both the Milky Way and Pegasus galaxies. Billions, trillions of lives saved because one woman chose to fly into the darkness and not come back. It's not enough, Daniel said, his voice breaking. She deserves more than a hologram, more than a memorial. She deserves to be alive. Yes, Picard agreed. But the universe rarely gives us what we deserve. It gives us what we're willing to fight for. Vala fought for freedom, for billions she'd never meet. That's heroism in its purest form. And we honor that by remembering, by teaching others, by making sure her sacrifice meant something. 6 months later, Earth. The monument stood in Golden Gate Park, where Starfleet headquarters had been before the Ori destroyed it. The structure was simple, a white stone obelisk, 20 meters tall, with names carved into every surface, names of those who died in the Ori Crusade, starship crews, planetary defense forces, civilians killed in orbital bombardments, and at the very top, in letters larger than all others, Vala Maldoran, who killed gods so mortals could live. The dedication ceremony drew thousands, representatives from every Federation member world. Klingons, Romulans, former Ori followers who'd integrated into Federation society. SG-1 stood at the monument's base, each member saluting their fallen teammate. Captain Picard spoke to the assembled crowd. The Ori Crusade killed 500 billion sentients across known space. That number is impossible to comprehend. But we remember that each number was a person. Each had hopes, dreams, families. Each mattered. He gestured to the monument. And we remember the heroes who stopped the crusade. Vala Maldoran, who delivered the weapon that killed gods. The crews of 30 starships who died defending Earth, Vulcan and other core worlds. The scientists who built the Sangreal while cities burned around them. The soldiers who held lines against impossible odds. They are gone, but they are not forgotten. In the crowd, Labuaxana Troy stood with her daughter. The older woman had been freed from Origin's influence when the Ori died, but the experience had changed her. She was quieter now, less flamboyant. The trauma of realizing she'd worshipped monsters left scars that counseling helped but couldn't fully heal. "Mother," Diana asked quietly, "are you all right?" "No," Labuaxana replied honestly. "But I'm healing, thanks to that woman." She pointed at Vala's name on the monument. She could have let the Ori continue their crusade. Could have let me and billions of others remain enslaved by false faith. She chose to die so we could be free. That's something I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of. The ceremony concluded with a moment of silence. Thousands stood still, remembering the dead, honoring the sacrifice, acknowledging the price of freedom, and somewhere, in quantum frequencies beyond mortal perception, consciousness that had once been Vala Maldoran might have been aware of it all, might have smiled, might have whispered one final sarcastic comment about the universe's sense of dramatic timing. But that was unprovable, unmeasurable, beyond the reach of science or faith. All that remained was memory, and a monument, and 2 galaxies connected by wormholes, forever changed by the woman who'd chosen to kill gods so mortals could live. The moment the Ori died, every prior across 2 galaxies collapsed. On Bataised, a prior who'd been mid-sermon preaching to thousands about the glory of the Ori and the eternal damnation awaiting non-believers, suddenly stopped speaking. His eyes, which had glowed with Ori power for weeks, went dark. He staggered, clutched his head, and screamed, "They're gone!" He shouted, not with Ori-enhanced voice, but with human confusion and terror. "I can't feel them, the Ori are. They're silent. He collapsed. Around him, thousands of converted betazoids began experiencing the same crisis simultaneously. The mental connection they'd shared with the Ori, that constant presence of divine consciousness at the edge of their awareness, had simply vanished. The priors, who'd been enhanced humans, channeling Ori power, reverted instantly to baseline biology. Their superhuman abilities disappeared. Their capacity to perform miracles ceased. They were just people, confused, traumatized people who'd spent months believing they were vessels for gods, now discovering those gods were dead. On Earth, Admiral Ross stood in the temporary command center in Sydney, watching reports flood in from every corner of Federation space. Priors on Vulcan have collapsed. No further demonstrations of power. Converted populations on Deneva reporting mass psychological distress. Ori warships in orbit around Andoria are dead in space. No power signatures. "Captain, this is happening everywhere," his aide reported. "Every prior, every converted world, every Ori vessel, they're all experiencing the same simultaneous system failure." Ross turned to the view screen where Captain Picard's face appeared, the Enterprise bridge visible behind him. "Captain, confirm. The Ori are dead." "Confirmed," Picard replied. "Vala Maldoran successfully deployed the Sangral in Celestis. The weapon de-ascended the Ori and she killed them in corporeal form. Without the Ori as ascended consciousness powering the Crusade infrastructure, everything dependent on that power has ceased to function. The Crusade is over." For a moment, Ross couldn't speak, couldn't process. They'd won, against impossible odds, against beings that called themselves gods, against a crusade that had killed 500 billion people. They'd won. "What's the status of converted populations?" Ross finally asked. "Widespread psychological trauma," data reported from his station. "The sudden loss of connection to the Ori is causing severe emotional distress. Many converted individuals are experiencing what medical staff are describing as spiritual shock, the realization that beings they worshipped as divine were merely advanced aliens who have now been killed. The cognitive dissonance is significant." On Bethesda, Deanna Troi worked with emergency counseling teams, dealing with thousands of people experiencing identical crises of faith. Her mother, the Waxana, was among them, sitting in a corner, staring at nothing, her normally vibrant personality shattered by the realization of what she'd done while under Origin's influence. "Mother," Deanna said gently, kneeling beside her, "it wasn't your fault. The Ori manipulated you. You were a victim. I worshipped them," Waxana whispered, her voice hollow. "I felt their presence in my mind. I genuinely believed they were divine. I would have killed for them, Deanna, if they'd asked me to harm you, to harm anyone who refused Origin. I would have done it gladly. How do I live with that? How do I trust my own judgment ever again?" Deanna had no answer. This was the invisible wound of the Ori Crusade, not the 500 billion dead, but the billions more who'd been psychologically broken by faith that turned out to be false. They couldn't simply move on, couldn't just accept it was mind control because it wasn't. It was genuine belief, freely chosen, based on evidence that seemed irrefutable. And now they had to live with the knowledge that they'd been wrong, that their gods were mortal, that everything they'd believed was a lie. "We'll help you through this," Deanna promised. "All of you. The Federation doesn't abandon people who are suffering. We heal. That's what we do." But even as she said it, Deanna understood the scale of what faced them. 200 Federation worlds had converted to Origin. Billions of people needed deprogramming, counseling, support. It would take years, maybe decades, and some would never fully recover. Across the galaxy, the physical remnants of the Ori Crusade created immediate practical problems. 50 Ori warships orbited various Federation worlds, dead and lifeless but still massive structures containing hundreds of thousands of former Ori followers. They had no power, no life support running on auxiliary, no ability to move or defend themselves. We need to evacuate everyone aboard those ships, Admiral Nekiyat ordered during an emergency Federation Council session. 2,000 people total, most of them traumatized and confused. They're citizens now, whether they like it or not, and we have a responsibility to help them. The evacuation took 3 days. Federation transporter ships worked around the clock, beaming people off derelict Ori vessels and relocating them to temporary refugee centers on a dozen different worlds. Most came willingly, grateful to escape the ships that had become tombs for their faith. Some resisted, clinging to the belief that the Ori would return, that this was only a test.
The Ori can't die, one young man shouted. The security personnel escorted him to the transporter pad. They're gods. They're eternal. This is temporary. They'll come back and punish all of you for your doubt. The security officer, a Vulcan named Talara, regarded him with patient logic. The Orisi were biological entities who achieved ascension through evolutionary adaptation. They were mortal. They died. This is documented fact. Your faith, however sincere, does not alter objective reality. You're lying, the man screamed. You're testing us. The Ori will return. Perhaps, Talar replied, steering him onto the transporter pad. But while you wait for that return, you will be fed, housed, and provided with psychological counseling. Your beliefs are your own. But your survival is now our responsibility. In Starfleet Medical's Psychiatric Division, Dr. Meglimo, a therapist from the USS Cerritos, who'd been reassigned to deal with the crisis, addressed a room full of former Ori followers. I understand that many of you are experiencing what we call existential collapse, Meglimo said, his bird-like features carrying unusual gentleness. You believed in something with absolute certainty. You witnessed miracles. You felt the presence of divinity, and now you're being told it was all false. That's traumatic. That's painful. And I want you to know, your pain is valid. But the Ori were evil, a Bolian nurse interrupted. They killed billions. They enslaved whole populations. How can we sympathize with people who worshipped monsters? Because they didn't know the Ori were monsters, Meglimo replied. They saw beings who could terraform moons, heal the dying, perform genuine impossible feats. From their perspective, worshipping such beings was the only logical response. We can't blame them for reaching conclusions that made sense based on the evidence they had. He turned back to the former followers. You were deceived, masterfully, by beings who had millions of years to perfect the art of manipulation. That's not a moral failing. That's just being mortal, and now you have a choice. You can cling to faith that evidence has disproven, or you can accept reality and begin healing. Both paths are difficult, but only one leads to recovery. A woman in the front row raised her hand tentatively. What if we can't stop believing? I know intellectually, the Ori are dead. I saw the reports, I understand the science, but in my heart I still feel like they're watching, like they'll judge me for doubting. How do I make that feeling go away? Time, Meglimo said gently. Therapy, support from others experiencing the same crisis, and understanding that feelings don't have to dictate actions. You can feel watched while knowing logically you're not. You can miss the certainty faith provided while accepting that certainty was false. Emotions don't have to be rational, they just have to be acknowledged and processed. 6 months after Vala's sacrifice brought the conflict to an abrupt end, the Federation is finally tallying the catastrophic price of the Ori Crusade. The total loss of life stands at a staggering 500 billion sentients across known space. While the destruction of Starfleet headquarters and the death of 15 million in San Francisco struck a psychological blow to Earth, the devastation on other core worlds was far more absolute.
Vulcan suffered 3.2 billion casualties, losing both Shikar and the Vulcan Science Academy to orbital bombardment, while Andoria, Tellar, and Batazed collectively mourn over 2.5 billion of their own. However, the sheer scale of the genocide is most evident in the outer territories, where over 94 billion lives were extinguished. Militarily, the Federation has been brought to its knees, with orbital defenses shattered around 200 worlds, 47 major cities reduced to ruin, and a fleet that has lost 18 Galaxy-class starships, along with countless smaller vessels. The road to recovery looks to be the work of generations. Converted populations requiring deprogramming, 12 billion people across 200 worlds. Former Ori followers requiring resettlement, 200,000 from derelict warships. Priors requiring medical and psychological treatment, 3,000 individuals who'd been enhanced by Ori power and now faced severe withdrawal symptoms. The Federation Council met in an emergency session that lasted 3 weeks, debating how to rebuild while also addressing the humanitarian crisis created by the Crusade's end. "We need to allocate resources for reconstruction," Admiral Ross argued. "Earth's population is demanding we rebuild San Francisco and restore Starfleet headquarters. Vulcan wants aid to rebuild Shikar. Andoria needs—" "We can't ignore the psychological crisis," Councillor Troy interrupted. 12 billion people are experiencing mass trauma. Many are suicidal. Some are forming cults, believing the Ori will return. We need therapists, support groups, medical staff trained in deprogramming, and we need to decide what to do with Ori technology," a Tellarite representative added. "Those derelict warships contain technology decades beyond our capabilities. ZPMs, advanced shields, weapon systems. Do we study them? Salvage them? Destroy them?" The debate raged for hours before Captain Picard stood to speak. His voice carried the weight of someone who'd witnessed the entire crusade firsthand. "The Ori Crusade killed 500 billion people. That number is impossible to comprehend, but we must try. Each of those 500 billion was a person. Each had a name, a family, dreams that will never be realized. We cannot bring them back. We cannot undo that loss, but we can ensure their deaths had meaning." He pulled up a holographic display showing reconstruction plans. "I propose we dedicate our resources to 3 priorities, in this order. First, psychological support for affected populations. Second, humanitarian aid for devastated worlds. Third, gradual reconstruction of infrastructure. We do not prioritize buildings over people. We do not prioritize technology over healing. We rebuild slowly, carefully, ensuring we don't repeat the mistakes that made us vulnerable to the Ori in the first place." "And what mistakes were those?" Admiral Nikiev challenged. "Arrogance," Picard said bluntly. "We believed ourselves enlightened, advanced, beyond the primitive superstitions that led Earth's ancestors to worship false gods. We were wrong. The Ori proved that faith, genuine, sincere faith based on observable evidence, can be more powerful than reason. We need to learn from that. Not by abandoning reason, but by understanding that humans need meaning, purpose, something larger than themselves. If we don't provide healthy outlets for that need, others will exploit it." The Council voted to approve Picard's proposal. Resources would be allocated based on humanitarian need, rather than strategic importance. The Federation would heal before it rebuilt. On Earth, construction began on a new Starfleet headquarters, not in San Francisco, which would remain a memorial site, but in Paris. The building's design included a large atrium where the names of all 500 billion dead were recorded in holographic displays that visitors could search, ensuring every victim was remembered individually. On Vulcan, the ruins of Shikar were carefully excavated. Thousands of archaeologists worked to recover cultural artifacts, historical records, anything that could be salvaged from the destruction. Ambassador Spock personally oversaw the effort, treating it as a sacred duty to preserve what remained of his people's heritage. Logic suggests we should rebuild quickly and efficiently, Spock said during a press conference. However, grief is not logical. My people need time to mourn, to remember, to honor those we lost. The reconstruction of Shikar will take decades, not because we lack resources, but because we choose to rebuild thoughtfully rather than hastily. On Bethesda, Laksana Troy underwent intensive therapy alongside thousands of other former Origin believers. The process was painful, forcing herself to confront the months she'd spent worshipping the Ori, the things she'd said and done while under their influence, the people she'd hurt by promoting a faith that turned out to be false. I recruited others, she told her therapist during one session, tears streaming down her face. I convinced friends, family, strangers to convert to Origin. I told them the Ori were divine. I promised them eternal life if they believed. And because they trusted me, they converted. How many people are now traumatized because I was so certain? How many suffer because I was wrong? You were manipulated by beings specifically designed to be convincing, her therapist replied. The Ori spent millions of years perfecting the art of deception. You're not responsible for their crimes, but I'm responsible for my choices, Laksana insisted. I chose to believe. I chose to recruit others. I have to own that. Even if I was deceived, I still made those choices, and I have to live with the consequences. It was a conversation happening across the Federation. Former believers, grappling with guilt, shame, and the knowledge that their sincere faith had been exploited by monsters. Some handled it better than others. Many would carry the scars for life. The Federation Council also debated what to do with Ori technology. The derelict warships contained knowledge decades beyond current Federation capabilities. The temptation to study, reverse engineer, and integrate that technology was enormous. We could advance our defensive capabilities by 50 years, a human admiral argued. Install Ori shields on our starships. Reverse engineer their beam weapons. Use their ZPMs to power cities. This technology could revolutionize the Federation, or it could corrupt us, Picard countered. The Ori built their technology to dominate, to control, to impose their will through overwhelming force. That's not the Federation's philosophy. If we adopt their technology, do we also adopt their values? The technology is neutral, the Admiral replied. It's how we use it that matters. Technology is never neutral, Daniel Jackson interjected. He'd remained in the Federation to help with the aftermath, despite SG-1's timeline diverging further each day. The Goa'uld thought ribbon devices were neutral. The Ori thought their beam weapons were neutral, but technology shapes societies. If the Federation builds a military around Ori weapons, you become a civilization defined by Ori-style warfare. Is that really what you want? The Council ultimately voted to seal most Ori technology under protocols similar to the Omega Directive, classified heavily restricted, accessible only to a small group of researchers studying defensive countermeasures. The ZPMs were an exception, designated for use in critical infrastructure like hospitals and emergency systems. We won't become what we fought, Picard declared. The Ori Crusade ends with the Ori. Their technology doesn't get to define our future. 1 year after Vala's death, the Federation held a memorial ceremony at the ruins of Celestis. The Enterprise traveled through the Ori wormhole, now permanently stabilized using ancient technology, into the Ori galaxy. The journey took 3 hours, and when they emerged, the crew was silent. Celestis was Esh, the city of light, the impossible construct that had existed across multiple dimensional planes, was gone, Completely. The Sangral's detonation had erased it so thoroughly that sensors couldn't even detect debris, just an expanding cloud of ionized particles marking where gods had died. "We're in position above ground zero," the con officer reported. Picard stood, straightened his uniform, and walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, his senior staff assembled. Riker, Data, Worf, Trosha, LaForge. In the observation lounge, SG-1 waited. Cameron Mitchell, Teal, Sam Carter, and Daniel Jackson, who had refused to miss this memorial despite knowing it would break him. "Scan for the marker," Picard ordered quietly. Merlin's failsafe. It should have survived the detonation. Data worked his console, sensors sweeping through the ionized cloud, detecting a crystalline structure at coordinates 047 Mark Wab 12, distance 500,000 kilometers from ground zero, composition consistent with ancient data storage technology. "It appears intact. Beam it directly to the observation lounge," Picard said, "and inform our guests. It's time." The crystal materialized on a pedestal in the observation lounge, glowing faintly with internal light. SG-1 stood around it, each member dealing with grief in their own way. Mitchell stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Teal bowed his head in silent respect. Sam wiped away tears she didn't try to hide. And Daniel just stared at the crystal like it might contain answers to questions he'd been asking himself for a year. Picard entered, followed by his senior officers. "Dr. Jackson, would you like to activate it? The message is for you as much as anyone." Daniel nodded, stepped forward, touched the crystal. It flared brilliant white, and Vela's hologram appeared. She looked exactly as they remembered. Confident smirk, eyes carrying mischief, posture suggesting she was about to make a sarcastic comment that would make everyone uncomfortable. The recording began. "If you're seeing this, I succeeded, and I'm probably very dead." The hologram smiled. "Daniel, don't brood. You're terrible at brooding. Everyone else, thank you for letting me be a hero at the end. I was a thief, a liar, a host to evil, but you gave me a chance to be something better." The hologram's expression shifted, becoming more serious. "This message is being recorded 3 minutes before detonation. I'm sitting in a ship that's about to explode, surrounded by the corpses of gods I just killed with my bare hands. They tried to fight me in mortal form. Turns out ascended beings aren't very tough when they're just flesh and bone. I broke their necks, snapped them like twigs. How's that for a thief's final trick?" A pause. The hologram looked directly at Daniel, and everyone in the room understood this next part was specifically for him. "Daniel Jackson, you made me want to be better. That's the greatest gift anyone ever gave me. I loved you, even if I never said it out loud. Even if I spent years making jokes instead of being honest. I loved you, and I died knowing that love mattered more than surviving." The hologram's smile returned, bright and defiant. "Keep fighting the good fight. Keep exploring. Keep being the brilliant, frustrating, wonderful man you are. And remember, I killed gods so mortals could live. That's not a bad legacy for a thief." The hologram paused one more time, her expression softening. "Oh, and one more thing, to everyone listening. The Ori said only gods could judge mortals. They were wrong. We judged them. We found them wanting, and we killed them for their crimes. If beings as powerful as the Ori can be held accountable, then no tyrant is beyond justice. No oppressor is invincible. Remember that. When you face the next impossible enemy, when someone tells you resistance is futile, when gods or monsters or empires demand you submit, remember that mortals killed the Ori. Remember that a thief from a nowhere planet flew into the home of gods and made them mortal again." If I can do that, you can do anything. The hologram straightened, gave a casual salute. Vala Maldoran, signing off. Try not to die stupidly. I've got a monopoly on that. Vala, out. The hologram faded. The crystal went dark. The observation lounge was silent except for Daniel Jackson, who'd finally stopped fighting his grief and was crying openly. Cameron Mitchell placed a hand on his shoulder. She saved 2 galaxies. Daniel, that's everything. It's not enough, Daniel managed, his voice breaking. She deserved to survive, to see what she accomplished, to know that billions of people are alive because she chose to die. She knew, Teal'c said quietly. Villa Maldoran understood sacrifice better than most warriors I have known. She chose death with full awareness of its cost and its meaning. That is the highest form of courage. Picard approached Daniel, extending his hand. In it was a small device, a holographic projector containing a copy of Vala's final message. Dr. Jackson, the Federation owes Vala a debt that can never be repaid, but we can ensure she's remembered. This copy of her message will be preserved in the Federation archives. Her words will be taught to every Starfleet cadet. Her sacrifice will be remembered for as long as the Federation exists. She won't be forgotten. I give you my word. Daniel took the device, held it like it was the most precious thing in the universe. Thank you, Captain. Thank you. The Enterprise returned to the Milky Way, leaving Celestis's ruins behind. But they didn't leave empty-handed. The crystal containing Vala's message was transported to Earth, where it was installed in the memorial atrium at the new Starfleet headquarters. Visitors could approach the crystal, activate the hologram, and hear Vala's final words. Many did. Over the months and years that followed, millions of people, Federation citizens, former Ori followers, allies from across the galaxy, came to hear the message of the woman who killed gods. And slowly, through that message, healing began. Former Origin believers found comfort in understanding that the Orid had been judged, and found wanting. They weren't wrong to seek meaning, purpose, something greater than themselves. They were just wrong about where to find it. Federation citizens found inspiration in Vala's sacrifice. She'd been nobody special, a thief, a con artist, someone who'd spent most of her life on the wrong side of the law. But when it mattered, she'd been a hero. If she could rise to that challenge, so could they. And the galaxy found hope. Because if mortals could kill gods, then nothing was truly impossible. No tyrant was invincible, no evil was unstoppable. The Ori had seemed omnipotent, and they died. That meant everything was vulnerable if you were brave enough to fight it. Epilogue. 5 years after the Ori Crusade, Captain Picard stood at Vala's memorial in the atrium of Starfleet headquarters. He came here regularly, not out of obligation, but out of respect. Around him, dozens of other people paid their own respects, reading names of lost loved ones, listening to Vala's message, remembering. Captain Picard, a voice said behind him. He turned to find Daniel Jackson, older now, still carrying grief but no longer consumed by it. Dr. Jackson, Picard greeted him. I wasn't expecting to see you here. I come every year on the anniversary, Daniel explained. It helps. Hearing her voice, remembering why she did it. Vala always said actions define us more than words. She was right. They stood in silence for a moment, watching visitors interact with the memorial. The galaxy is healing, Picard observed. Slowly, painfully, but healing nonetheless. Former Origin believers are integrating into Federation society. The converted worlds are rebuilding. In another generation, the O-ring will be history rather than trauma. And that's because of her, Daniel said quietly. Vala gave everyone time to heal by ending the threat permanently. If the Ori were still out there, still converting worlds, still killing anyone who resisted, we'd never have peace. She gave us that gift. She gave us everything, Picard agreed. And we honor that by living well, by building a galaxy worth dying for, by being worthy of her sacrifice. Daniel pulled out the holographic projector Picard had given him 5 years ago, worn now from years of carrying, but still functional. I watch this every night. Her final message. It's the closest I get to having her back. I'm sorry, Picard said, for your loss, for what she meant to you, for the love you never got to express properly. She knew, Daniel replied. That's what I tell myself. She knew I loved her, even if we were both too stubborn to say it out loud, and she loved me. That has to be enough. On the memorial wall, Vela's name glowed in letters of light. Vala Maldoran, who killed gods, so mortals could live 2034. Thor, 22370 hero. Warrior, friend. If I can do that, you can do anything. Picard and Daniel stood before it, two men from different universes, united by grief and gratitude for a woman who'd chosen death so others could live. There are no gods, Picard said quietly. Only people who choose to be extraordinary. And she was the most extraordinary person I ever knew, Daniel replied. They stood in silence, remembering, honoring, ensuring that Vala Maldoran, thief, hero, and killer of gods, would never be forgotten. Two galaxies, connected by wormholes, forever changed by one woman's sacrifice. Freedom and yours.